After crossing over, taken to bed by my good brother in the entertainment industry. Damn it, just a few drinks, why are you playing dead? Get the hell up now. Jiang Wu, who had just been immersed in the endless pain of thunder tribulation, suddenly heard the crude voice of a man beside him, muffled, as if he were drunk. He slowly opened his eyes, and the first thing he saw was a soft yet not piercing light, brighter than the biggest night pearl in the Great Zhou Imperial Palace, but not as glaring as sunlight. He couldn't help but stretch his hand up to touch it. Slap. A big hand suddenly swatted his hand away. If you're not dead, get up. Jiang Wu froze. It had been over 100 years since he entered the Great Zhou Imperial Palace, and no one dared to speak to him like that. Even the infamous and brutal emperor of Great Zhou treated him politely. He opened his eyes and sat up from the soft bed, only to find himself in a completely unfamiliar room, surrounded by strange furnishings and writings he didn't recognize. Standing beside him was a middle-aged man with a large belly, around 50 years old, dressed in an odd white long robe. His greasy face was flushed, and he reeked of alcohol, with a faint dark aura above his head, clearly not a good person. Who are you? Jiang Wu asked, wondering if the Northern DI people had captured him while he was gravely injured and brought him to the Northern DI. The man scoffed. What the hell are you pretending for? He yanked at his tie and lunged at him. Impudent. Jiang Wu gathered his inner energy and slapped at the man's chest. His long, fair fingers gently touched the corpulent man's chest, but instead of shattering his heart, it didn't even move a muscle. Jiang Wu froze for a moment. The man, Yang Wenxiong, was also stunned for a moment, then grinned and grabbed his hand. Playing hard to get, huh? You're quite the type. Jiang Wu's eyes turned cold, and with 2 fingers, he jabbed at the man's throat and then clenched his fist, delivering a punch to his ribs. Yang Wenxiong screamed in agony and fell backward. Jiang Wu stood up, surveying the strange and unfamiliar environment. He touched his short hair, feeling uneasy and confused. He remembered that he should have been at Ying Mountain. Yes, Ying Mountain, where the enemy had invaded the imperial city, and the sky was filled with flames. He had stood on Ying Mountain, watching helplessly as the dynasty he had protected for over 200 years was about to turn to ashes. Then he used a forbidden spell, breaking the rule of the sage clan not to meddle with mortal destinies, and forcibly saved the royal bloodline of the Yang Zhou dynasty and its people. In the end, this led to a heavenly tribulation, and the 9-fold thunderbolt shattered his body and soul. As he was lost in thought, the door suddenly crashed open, and 7 or 8 bodyguards in black rushed in. Grab him! Jiang Wu frowned and retreated step by step to the balcony behind him. Why aren't you running? The lead bodyguard sneered. This is the 11th floor. If you jump, you'll die for sure. You might as well be obedient and keep your life. The wind howled through the night, and Jiang Wu suddenly smiled faintly. The bodyguards froze for a moment, and the next moment, a strange scene unfolded. Jiang Wu stood on the balcony, his right hand lightly forming a gesture, then suddenly leaned backward and jumped directly from the 11th floor. The bodyguards. The cold night wind whistled. On the 11th floor of the Golden Land Hotel, a slender figure suddenly plummeted downward. When he reached the 6th floor's balcony, his descent slowed, and he landed lightly on the railing like a feather. Clack! Jiang Wu's toes gently touched the railing, and he let out a soft breath. Just as he lifted his head, his gaze met a pair of startled, narrow eyes. The night was dark and the wind strong. On the 6th floor balcony of the Golden Land Hotel, 2 pairs of eyes met and remained silent for a long time. I didn't mean to disturb you, just passing through. If I've startled you, I apologize. Jiang Wu was used to observing people by their aura, but the balcony was too dark, and he couldn't discern the other person's energy. After thinking for a moment, he decided to greet the person. The man in the corner was sitting at a table, half of his body hidden in shadows. His face couldn't be fully seen, but Jiang Wu could vaguely make out the sharp features of his face and a hand holding a cup of coffee, his fingers long and well-defined, giving off a powerful aura. It's fine, came a calm yet slightly hesitant voice, low and youthful. Jiang Wu's heart relaxed slightly, and he asked, "May I ask where this is? How far is it from Xiangju?" The balcony railing was clearly visible in the moonlight. The young man, with chestnut-colored short hair and a delicate face, had phoenix-like eyes that shone brighter than the stars. His attire, originally casual and carefree, gave off an ethereal chill due to the calm and composure in his eyes, contradictory yet striking. The man in the corner remained silent for a while before answering, "This is the Golden Land Hotel. It takes about half an hour to drive to Xiangju." "Drive?" Jiang Wu paused, thinking to himself, "It's only half an hour, do I need to take a carriage?" "Thank you." "You're welcome. Goodbye." Jiang Wu clasped his hands and performed the formal gesture of the Great Zhou Imperial Court before turning and jumping down from the 6th-floor balcony. Han Chang's breath caught in his chest. He immediately stood up and rushed to the balcony railing to look down, but saw nothing. The busy streets were filled with cars and pedestrians, and there were no bloody scenes. The stars filled the sky above, and the bright moon shone down. If not for the faint impression of footprints on the railing, he would have thought it was all a dream. The door behind him opened, and his assistant, Yao Ping, walked in, dressed in a suit and glasses. "Mr. Han, the hotel says the power outage was caused by old wiring, combined with frequent magnetic storms lately. They are investigating, and power should be restored within half an hour." "Mr. Han." Han Chang, standing on the balcony, didn't he respond for a long time. Yao Ping curiously walked forward and saw his boss staring down at the street below. "What's wrong, Mr. Han?" "Nothing." Han Chang rubbed his forehead. "I think I'm just a bit tired. Probably a hallucination." Yao Ping immediately asked, "Should we call a doctor?" "No need. After the bidding is settled, arrange a week's vacation for me." "Understood." Yao Ping was about to leave when he suddenly remembered something. "By the way, the Genie Foundation is holding a charity event here tonight. The person in charge heard you were staying here and wanted to invite you to make an appearance." "I'm not going." "Understood." Meanwhile, in the greenery behind the Golden Land Hotel, Jiang Wu was slowly crawling out from a bush, scaring a wildcat that shrieked and ran away. A small crow lingered in place for a while before flapping its wings and flying off. The great national master of the Great Zhou, once above all under heaven, now could barely use his lightness skill. He had to crawl down a water pipe, and this punishment was far worse than the 81 thunderbolts. "Oh!" He gritted his teeth in pain. Though he had used a lightness spell, jumping from the building still caused his calf to ache, probably fractured. To make matters worse, his soul had been fracturing, the rift growing as if an axe were splitting his mind in two. But he couldn't stay here for long. The people upstairs would certainly come to check, and in his current condition, being caught meant certain doom. Jiang Wu stood up despite the severe pain, cold sweat dripping from his forehead to the ground. His vision began to darken, and he did not notice the crazy vibration of the phone in his pocket. He took a few steps with difficulty, and the tearing of his soul made him unable to support himself anymore. His vision went black and he fainted on the ground. Before he completely lost consciousness, he vaguely heard someone calling his name. "Brother Jiang! Brother Jiang! Wake up!" Jiang Wu. Chapter 2, The Beginning of Full Online Hatred. 1 week later, in a hospital ward in Linhai City. "I am of a divinely favored lineage, the national master of the Great Zhou, above millions under the heavenly Tao. I only sustained these injuries because of the thunder tribulation. Once my internal energy recovers, I will heal on my own. There's no need for our..." Before Jiang Wu could finish speaking, a needle was swiftly and precisely inserted into his vein. It was quick, accurate, and ruthless. Jiang Wu's body stiffened. "Are you a descendant of Xue Shenzhen's Snowy Needle?" "I am a descendant of Florence Nightingale." The nurse, dressed in white, calmly finished administering the medication before removing the needle. She looked at the person beside the bed. "Make sure he rests at home, avoid moving that injured leg as much as possible." Okay. Zhang Xiaoyu nodded repeatedly and glanced at the young man on the bed before asking, "By the way, should we take him for a brain CT or consult a psychiatrist?" The nurse replied, "If possible, both would be ideal." "Thank you, nurse." "You're welcome." After sending the nurse away, Zhang Xiaoyu looked at the person in the bed with concern. "Brother, does your leg still hurt?" Jiang Wu calmly adjusted his clothes. "It's nothing. Once I circulate my inner energy, I'll be fully healed in 3 days." Zhang Xiaoyu hesitated. "Brother Jiang, how about we get a brain CT now?" "No need." An hour later, Jiang Wu sat on the sofa, inspecting the modest but tidy little apartment in front of him. Although he had been told 3 days ago that this was his current residence, he couldn't help but sigh. A fallen phoenix is no better than a chicken. The place was even smaller than the birdcage he used to have. 3 days ago, after waking up in the hospital, this assistant who had saved him informed him that he had traveled 1,000 years into the future and had become an 18-line actor. Due to bullying teammates, poor acting, riding on others' popularity, and low academic qualifications, he was labeled a cancer of the entertainment industry by netizens. To make matters worse, a week ago, the day after his suicide attempt, a photo of him, disheveled and spending the night in a hotel with his married sugar daddy, was posted online. It quickly went viral, causing a stir, and the second male lead of a web drama he had worked so hard to land was replaced. With his Weibo inbox flooded with insults, his assistant had to close the direct messages and prevent him from looking at his Weibo. But Jiang Wu's curiosity got the better of him. He had been cursed before, but those people, fearing him, would never dare curse him to his face. They would only secretly insult him, write hidden acrostic poems, or even send messages through other people. So, he decided to take a look at the comment section. To his surprise, it was quite amusing. The modern netizens' way of cursing was much more creative than the so-called loyal officials from the Great Zhou dynasty. There were various metaphors, trends, and jokes. If not for the fact that he still retained some knowledge from his past life, Jiang Wu would have had difficulty understanding them. Some said he was simply hungry, others claimed he was just there to highlight his peers, bring joy to the netizens, and contribute traffic to the platform. Some said he was trying to act wise but kept using the wrong tactics. Of course, some just directly called him shameless and despicable. There was no limit to how rude they were. Zhang Xiaoyu feared that Jiang Wu might have a mental breakdown after reading the comments. However, after he finished reading, he merely sighed, "They live in a good age. If it were the past, their 9 generations would be in danger." Zhang Xiaoyu thought Jiang Wu must have damaged his brain and insisted on getting him a CT scan. Jiang Wu was uncertain whether the brain CT would reveal that his body had actually been replaced by someone else, so he firmly refused. However, after being taken back to this cramped apartment, Jiang Wu quickly realized that the insults and private messages were not his greatest problem. It was money he was desperately lacking in it. How much was he lacking? A lot. So much so that even this birdcage of an apartment wasn't his own, it was rented. On the day he first returned, the landlord barged in demanding the rent, threatening to throw all their things out if they didn't pay. After some pleading, Zhang Xiaoyu managed to negotiate until the end of the month. Jiang Wu learned that the rent was only 5,000 yuan, which was just a few taels of silver in Great Zhou. He was quite displeased with Zhang Xiaoyu's subservience. Despite his broken soul, he was still a descendant of the divine, a master of fate, able to hear the winds, read the stars, and predict fortunes. How could he not earn back 5,000 yuan? So, he immediately tore off a piece of bed sheet, wrote some words on it, and went outside to find a busy public square. He set up a simple fortune-telling booth, thinking he would easily earn the 5,000 yuan. However, after barely 2 hours, he was recognized. Thanks to his recent scandals, he was quickly surrounded, with more and more passers-by lifting their phones to take pictures, saying they had never seen a celebrity begging on the streets. Some who despised him even reported him to the police for engaging in feudal superstition. He was chased for an entire street by the police, and only escaped when he used light body techniques. Soon, the incident appeared on the trending topics. #J surnamed actor begging on the streets #. In the comment section, along with the insults, more people joined in to watch the spectacle. Some pineapple, har har, I shouldn't laugh, but he really runs fast. I heard the police chased him on a motorcycle for a whole street but couldn't catch him. A dream-s long river, he totally deserves it. He used to bully his teammates, now he's being the third wheel. Disgusting. Rabbit's ears, come on, he's too proud to beg, this is just a publicity stunt to gain sympathy. Oh, disgusting. Handsome dark skin, a fortune-telling session for 1,000 yuan. The most accurate fortune teller in the city charges only 200 yuan for one. He's got some nerve. South facing north, he's scamming, no surprise, maybe some young girls will fall for his looks and get tricked. Barco's fragments, seriously, he'd be better off as a model, why bother ruining the entertainment industry? Deep Prince, the modeling industry has done anything to you, his expressions are as stiff as a stone, how could he be a model? Ding Ling Lily, what model? He's found a sugar daddy. Anxious thoughts, isn't he a high school graduate who's practically illiterate? His values are totally off, so it's no surprise he'd do something like this. Can't believe how low the standards in the entertainment industry are, anyone can get in. Jiang Wu scrolled down the comment section, thinking to himself that the netizens' remarks were truly interesting. Zhang Xiaoyu, who was beside him, couldn't he help but offer some comfort. Brother, don't look at it anymore. These netizens don't know anything, they just follow the crowd and hate on you. You don't need to take it to heart. Jiang Wu truly wasn't he bothered by it. What concerned him was something else. Do I really have a sugar daddy? Zhang Xiaoyu was furious. Of course not. You're absolutely not that kind of person. Jiang Wu understood. It seems someone had fabricated and spread false rumors. Tell me about that night at the hotel. How did I get drunk? How did I end up in Yang Wenxiong's room? That night, Brother Yuan said he was taking you to a banquet and would also introduce you to the investors of Kitianjiao. He asked me to pick you up the next morning. But then, around 7 in the evening, you suddenly sent me a text saying to come pick you up as soon as possible. So I went, and I never expected. Brother Yuan, Yu Guanyuan, an employee of Zhongxing Entertainment, and the original Jiang Wu's agent. Jiang Wu came to a conclusion in his mind. Just as he was thinking about how to handle the situation, his phone rang. It was Yu Guanyuan. As soon as the call was answered, Yu Guanyuan started cursing. Jiang Wu. Are you sick? I went through hell to get you this opportunity, and you turned around and put Yang in the hospital. I'm telling you, forget about Kitianjiao, and forget about that second male lead role in the web series. The company is already planning to shelve you. You're finished. Zhang Xiaoyu, hearing the harsh words, turned pale, but Jiang Wu's response was calm and indifferent. You're not calling me just to tell me this, are you? Yu Guanyuan, on the other end of the line, had been expecting Jiang Wu to beg for mercy or cry for help, but what he got was such an unflustered response that it completely threw him off. It took him a while to compose himself. Finally, he realized there was still a chance. If Jiang Wu was willing to apologize to Yang Wenxiong, the latter might consider forgiving him. He then sent Jiang Wu an address. It was for a golf club. Brother, maybe you shouldn't go. I have a feeling it's not as simple as it seems, Zhang Xiaoyu said anxiously. Jiang Wu wasn't he foolish, of course, he knew it wasn't he that simple. But he was never someone to just sit back and wait for things to happen. There were very few things in this world that could stop him, and a small-time bully like this merchant wasn't he one of them. Of course I'm going. If I don't go, how am I supposed to resolve this? Chapter 3, Kneel Down. In the north of the city, at the Jiayue Golf Club. I heard you injured your leg and were unconscious for 3 days. What did the doctor say? The person speaking was Yu Guanyuan, the original Jiang Wu's agent. He was a tall, slightly thin man, with a fairly decent appearance. His eyes protruded slightly, and there were dark circles under his eyes, clearly from a few sleepless nights, probably due to the shock he had suffered recently. His face was full of concern, as though he genuinely cared about him. However, Jiang Wu immediately noticed the aura above his head, azure and ominous, with a heavy air of misfortune. It was clear he wasn't a good person. I'm much better. The leg injury wasn't a big deal to him. He had been unconscious for 3 days due to his soul adapting to the new body, and he had used a spell that destabilized his soul, causing him to faint. I was too hasty. As soon as I heard that Mr. Yang could help you, I wanted you to talk to him, but I didn't expect this to happen. Yu Guanyuan sighed. You know, these big bosses have bad tempers. If you don't serve them well, it's over. So just try to be nice, and we'll apologize. This'll all blow over. Jiang Wu interrupted. Where is he? He's up ahead. Let me take you there. Yu Guanyuan thought Jiang Wu had agreed and felt relieved. He led Jiang Wu through the lobby and onto the outdoor golf course. The lush green grass was neatly trimmed, with several flags marking holes on the lawn. Yang Wenxiong was standing with a golf club, preparing to hit the ball into a hole. Yu Guanyuan greeted him with a big smile. Mr. Yang, sorry to interrupt your game. Jiang Wu just came out of the hospital and has fully recovered, but he is eager to come here and apologize. Yang Wenxiong didn't even look at him. His gaze landed on Jiang Wu instead. The latter was dressed in a white shirt, jeans, and sneakers, with a plain face and cold eyes, giving off a unique aura. His limbs appeared perfectly fine. Yang Wenxiong cursed internally. These useless people actually told me this kid jumped off from the 11th floor? Ridiculous. If he really had jumped, he would be a pile of mush by now, not standing here in front of me. He glanced at the people around him and casually said, "I've been struggling in Linhai for years, only to be brought down by this yellow-haired kid. You think one apology will make me forgive you? It's not that simple." Jiang Wu asked, "So what do you want?" Yang Wenxiong spoke slowly, "Kneel, then crawl up to me and bark like a dog. Make it loud, and maybe I'll consider giving you a chance." Jiang Wu's eyes turned slightly colder, but he didn't say anything. "What's the matter? Not willing? Then get lost." Yang Wenxiong sneered, "You think you're something? If it weren't for President Lin, you wouldn't even have the chance to crawl into my bed." President Lin Yaohui, the CEO of Zhongxing Entertainment. Zhang Xiaoyu had mentioned him before. Jiang Wu's gaze deepened. It seemed like coming here was the right move. He looked at Yang Wenxiong. "I just think kneeling and barking like a dog is a bit too cliché and lacking sincerity. How about we try something new?" Yang Wenxiong became intrigued. "What kind of new thing?" Jiang Wu smiled slightly, his previously cold and proud face suddenly melting into an expression full of charm. "Let us have a contest. Whoever loses a round has to take off one piece of clothing and kneel again. How about that?" Yang Wenxiong felt a twinge of excitement. "You've played golf before?" Jiang Wu shook his head. "No, but it doesn't look too difficult." Yang Wenxiong rubbed his lips. "All right, I accept." Zhang Xiaoyu felt dizzy from hearing this. "Brother Jiang, you don't even know how to play basketball." "I can learn," Jiang Wu said, looking at Yang Wenxiong. "Right, Mr. Yang?" Yang Wenxiong was in a good mood. "Of course." The caddy quickly handed Jiang Wu a golf club. Yang Wenxiong pointed to a hole in the distance and explained the rules. There are a total of 18 holes. The standard is 72 strokes. "Too complicated," Jiang Wu suddenly interrupted him. He pointed to the farthest hole with his golf club. "Let us just go for the farthest one. Whoever gets the ball in first wins. If it takes one extra stroke, you take off a piece of clothing." Yang Wenxiong was a little surprised by Jiang Wu's audacity. "Fine. But you better strip well." Jiang Wu didn't respond. "Please, Mr. Yang." Yang Wenxiong, eager to show off, picked up his golf club and walked to the tee, glancing at Jiang Wu. "Watch closely, Tilder." With that, he turned and swung the club with force. The ball flew in a perfect arc and landed just 2 meters from the hole, almost guaranteed to go in within 3 strokes. Yu Guangyuan immediately started praising. "Mr. Yang is amazing. Professional. Absolutely professional. It's not bad. Just a hobby," Yang Wenxiong said, glancing at Jiang Wu. "Your turn." Jiang Wu walked to the tee, glancing at the green from a distance. Then he cautiously raised the club and made a very awkward swing. Yang Wenxiong sneered and turned to take a sip of water from the assistant, but as he swallowed, his eyes widened in shock as he saw Jiang Wu's ball flying straight toward the green. In one stroke, Jiang Wu sunk the ball in the hole. "Pfft!" Yang Wenxiong spat water in shock. Yu Guangyuan and Zhang Xiaoyu stared, their eyes wide. Even though they didn't know much about golf, they could tell that sinking the ball in one stroke from such a distance was no easy feat. Jiang Wu calmly looked at Yang Wenxiong. "Mr. Yang, it's your turn." Yang Wenxiong's face turned a shade of pale. Even if he got a hole in one next, he had still lost. This kid clearly wasn't just playing, he had tricked him, and he had fallen for it. "You little bastard. You dare mess with me." Yang Wenxiong gritted his teeth. "Get him? Grab him." 2 bodyguards immediately rushed toward Jiang Wu. He didn't retreat but instead charged straight at them. When they were about to confront him, he made a slight turn, his body becoming a blur as he dashed past them. Yang Wenxiong saw a flash of movement and, in the next second, Jiang Wu was standing right in front of him. He was so startled his face changed dramatically. He was about to call for help when, before he could open his mouth, Jiang Wu's eyes turned completely black, like a bottomless abyss, and his soul was sucked right in. Yang Wenxiong's eyes bulged as he tried to struggle, but in the next moment, he lost consciousness, his body collapsing like an empty shell. Jiang Wu turned to the bodyguards behind him and said, "I need to talk to Mr. Yang. You all can leave." The bodyguards were confused, but seeing their boss wasn't speaking, they assumed he had given permission. One by one, they obediently left the golf course. Once they were all gone, Jiang Wu casually put his hands in his pockets and asked, "Mr. Yang, who exactly got me drunk and sent me to your room at the Golden Land Hotel on the 8th? It was you, Guan Yuan. I clearly refused at the time, but you still forced me to jump off the building. Weren't you afraid Zhongxing would expose you? Lin Yao Hui wouldn't dare. He's no cleaner himself. The little star with the surname Su. He was the one who invited me. Aren't you afraid he'll sell you out? We're all on the same line. I've got his chat logs and phone recordings." Jiang Wu took his phone out of his pocket and pressed stop on the recording. He lowered his voice. "Send me the chat logs and phone recordings between you and Lin Yaohui." "All right." After a short while, the evidence was in hand. Jiang Wu casually tucked his phone away. "Mr. Yan, a bet's a bet. We agreed loser strips off a piece of clothing, right?" Yang Wenxiong stared blankly at him. "Yes. No need to strip. I'm not interested in your body." Jiang Wu picked up a golf club from the ground and spoke slowly. "Just kneel. I'm used to having people kneel before me when they speak." With that, he swung the club forcefully at Yang Wenxiong's lower body. A piercing scream echoed through the entire golf course. Chapter for Champs-Élysées. Yang Wenxiong's pig-like screams quickly attracted the staff. Jiang Wu took advantage of the bodyguards not arriving and smashed the fire alarm in the lounge corridor with a golf ball. The shrill alarm sounded suddenly, and water sprayed from the ceiling. The staff of the club heard the alarm and thought there was a fire. They quickly began to evacuate the guests and contact the fire department. The whole club was in chaos. Yang Wenxiong's bodyguards also rushed over soon, but Jiang Wu had already taken Zhang Xiaoyu out of the club gate. However, before the two of them got home, Jiang Wu fainted in the taxi because of his soul overdraft. Zhang Xiaoyu couldn't wake up when he got off the car. He cried anxiously. The taxi driver was so scared that he thought someone was dead and got into his car. He stepped on the accelerator and ran away without even asking for the fare. Jiang Wu was woken up by his crying once. He only had time to say that he was fine before he fell asleep again. He woke up 3 days later, and a lot of things happened in these 3 short days. First, his shot sent Yang Wenxiong to the hospital. There was news that the thing below was completely unusable. The mistresses took the opportunity to come to their hospital with their illegitimate children to claim their relationship, which made the original wife so angry that she made a scene in the hospital and planned to file for divorce. This is both good news and bad news. The good news is that Yang Wenxiong can't take care of revenge for the time being, and the bad news is that when the other party recovers, he may face more terrible revenge. The second is that Zhang Xiaoyu was notified of his dismissal by Zhongxing. Jiang Wu guessed that Guan Yuan must have exaggerated it. Finally, it was about himself. Zhongxing completely stopped all his commercial activities. The third male lead of a web drama he was originally in contact with was also assigned to a newcomer in the company. It was obvious that they wanted to cut off all his back roads and completely hide him. When he woke up, Zhang Xiaoyu was even praying to the gods. Jiang Wu looked at his desperate face and said, "Don't pray for now. Tell me about Zhongxing Entertainment's competing companies." Zhang Xiaoyu responded with a confused look on his face. Although Zhang Xiaoyu is just an assistant, he knows a lot about the major companies in the entertainment industry and quickly listed 5 entertainment companies that can compete with the stars. Jiang Wu read the information of these 5 companies and finally set his sights on a company called Xinghe Entertainment, whose actual person in charge is the founder and CEO Zhu Changming. An entertainment company that was just established 2 years ago has signed many newcomers in the past 2 years, but there are few first and second tier artists, and the competitiveness is relatively weak. However, Xinghe Entertainment has participated in several talent shows held before, which shows the strong capital strength behind the other party. There will be a charity party at Xiangxia Villa at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, and Mr. Zhu will also attend. Zhang Xiaoyu said with embarrassment, "But we can't get in without an invitation." Jiang Wu looked calm. "There will be one when the time comes." At 7:30 the next evening, in the lobby of the first floor of Xiangxia Villa in the suburbs of Linhai City, well-dressed celebrities and wealthy businessmen were talking in low voices with goblets in their hands, and the light of the crystal lamps reflected the luxurious accessories on their bodies with dazzling light. In the corner, Zhang Xiaoyu, wearing a cheap suit, looked at everything in front of him in amazement. Until now, he still didn't understand why his brother Jiang said something that made the receptionist suddenly change his mind and let them in. Brother Jiang, you are not some rich second generation who hides his identity to venture into the entertainment industry, right? Behind him, Jiang Wu leaned against the wall with his eyes downcast. His chestnut hair had been dyed back to black. The ordinary black suit made him look taller and slenderer. His handsome eyebrows were slightly frowned. If it weren't for the lollipop in his mouth, he would have looked like a melancholy nobleman. When he woke up in the hospital before, the doctor couldn't explain the reason for his sudden coma, so he said it might be hypoglycemia. So he used a spell on the receptionist at the door just now and his soul was weak. Zhang Xiaoyu immediately stuffed him with a lollipop. Of course, Jiang Wu knew that he didn't have hypoglycemia, and sugar wouldn't work. He had to make a quick decision. Did you see anyone? He asked. Zhang Xiaoyu shook his head, maybe in the lounge. Chamsalaz's villa will prepare a separate room as a lounge for guests with special status to avoid being disturbed by others. The lounge is at the end of the long corridor on the right-hand side of the hall, with a total of 6 rooms. Jiang Wu soon discovered that only room 3, the innermost one, had signs of use. After saying hello to Zhang Xiaoyu, he took advantage of the fact that there were few people in the men's bathroom, climbed out of the bathroom window and climbed to the window of room 3. The window was half open for ventilation. The light in the room was bright, but there was no one. However, there was some movement from the direction of the bathroom. The other party should be taking a shower. Jiang Wu took the opportunity to climb into the room. Suddenly, there was a sound of opening the door in the bathroom. He took the opportunity to hide behind the curtain. The room was covered with a thick wool blanket. Jiang Wu could not hear the other party's footsteps. He could only judge that the other party should be changing clothes by the rustling sound. When he was considering when to come forward without embarrassment, the sound suddenly stopped. Jiang Wu was slightly startled, and subconsciously concentrated on looking for the other party's breath, but at this time a trace of the crisis suddenly struck him, and he wanted to retreat immediately, but there was a wall behind him, so he simply lifted the curtain and threw it forward. The 2 layers of curtains were thrown forward, hitting a tall figure. Jiang Wu saw the bathrobe on him and instantly realized that the sound of changing clothes just now was deliberately made by the other party. The other party found him the moment he walked out of the bathroom. Jiang Wu did not expect that Mr. Zhu had such a keen observation ability. He immediately took out a coin from his sleeve and smashed the light in the room when the other party opened the curtain. The room darkened instantly, but Jiang Wu did not expect that the other party could still punch him. He was startled and raised his hand to block. After a struggle, he suddenly felt dizzy. The other party seized this moment and pressed him against the wall, and his back hurt. However, before he could cry out in pain, a punch with a strong wind hit him in the face. Jiang Wu was shocked and shouted quickly, "Mr. Zhu, I have no ill intentions, I just want to discuss cooperation with you." The punch stopped just an inch in front of his eyes. After a while, a male voice with a half-smile rang out in the dark room, "What did you call me?" Jiang Wu was stunned. This voice seemed to ring in his ears, low and steady, like the sound of a low-pitched piano, and even a little familiar, as if he had heard it somewhere before. "Mr. Zhu Changming, isn't that right?" The room was quiet for a moment, and the man's tone became lighter. "What kind of cooperation do you want to discuss with me?" Jiang Wu moved his clamped neck. "Why don't you let go first, and we sit down to talk?" The man's big hand did not move, and he said leisurely, "I like to talk this way." Jiang Wu. He took a deep breath and said, "I have evidence of the Zhongxing entertainment scandal, which is enough to make Zhongxing fall apart. So I think Mr. Zhu should be very interested in the evidence in my hand." "Really?" He was so careless that Jiang Wu was unsure. "As far as I know, although Xinghe Entertainment has strength, its foundation is far inferior to those old companies like Zhongxing. Several first-line artists now come from Zhongxing. If Zhongxing goes bankrupt, only Xinghe Entertainment with strong capital can take over these first-line artists. Isn't Mr. Zhu tempted?" This time, the other party did not hesitate and asked directly, "Do you have a grudge against Zhongxing?" "That's my business." The door was well sealed and visibility in the room was very low. However, because he was too close, the man could still see the outline of the eyes of the young man who was pressed against the wall by him in the dark. His eyes were smooth like a graceful phoenix, with a slightly raised tail. He was looking up at him, cold and proud. He raised his eyes slightly. Where is the evidence? Let go first. The two of them were in a stalemate in the dark for a moment, and the man let go first. Jiang Wu frowned and touched his neck, then took out a USB flash drive from his pocket and handed it over. This USB flash drive contains recordings and chat records of Lin Yaohui and Yang Wenxiong, involving the stars forcing artists to engage in sex transactions. The man stroked the USB flash drive in his hand, and suddenly said in a leisurely tone, "There is something I forgot to tell you. I am not Zhu Changming, you have the wrong person." The anger of being teased surged in his heart instantly. Jiang Wu's eyes turned cold, and he mobilized the internal force of his dantian to slap forward. The man was keenly aware of the crisis, and with years of experience, he deliberately dodged the palm by turning sideways. It was only a millimeter difference, and the sharp palm wind brushed his chest, leaving a slight burning sensation. Realizing that the palm wind was wrong, the man no longer faced Jiang Wu head on, but dodged blindly. Jiang Wu's eyes were already black, and he knew that he could not hold on for long, so he rushed forward and knocked the man down in a hurry. Bang! The two fell on the big bed behind them, and Jiang Wu's sharp palm fell. At this moment, the door was suddenly knocked open, and the light from the corridor instantly fell on the two. The sharp palm wind lifted the long hair on the forehead of the person under him, revealing a handsome face with clear edges and corners, a high nose bridge, and narrow eyes like swallow tails, leaving a shadow at the end of the eyes. The black eyes like ink dots are darker than those of ordinary people, cold and bright. The falling palm stopped abruptly, and Jiang Wu stared at this familiar yet unfamiliar face. His pupils suddenly shrank. Yang Zhang. Chapter 5 Han Zhang. In addition to listening to the wind and rain, observing the stars and predicting fate, the God-favored clan also has the ability to truly disrupt the destiny. Therefore, the destiny masters of all generations would choose to live in seclusion in the mountains and concentrate on cultivation, because once the destiny between heaven and earth is disturbed, disasters will also come, and the destiny master himself will also bear the punishment of heaven. Jiang Wu should also stay in the mountain where his master lived in seclusion to practice, and he wanted to ascend to heaven, but he happened to meet a person, Yang Zhang. That year, Jiang Wu was 16 years old and met Yang Zhang, who was lost in the mountains. Because the other party's face was too handsome, he couldn't help but show up to show the other party the way, and then he was entangled. Ascension in the mortal world. How can one ascend without entering the mortal world? Because of this sentence, Jiang Wu made a bet with him, betting on whether Yang Zhang could help him ascend, and was deceived down the mountain, into the mortal world, and accompanied him through life and death, battlefields and temples, and fought in the Yule Mountain of the northern Di people, and brought the Great Zhou dynasty, which was on the verge of extinction, back to its heyday. In the end, Yang Zhang died 100 years old, and he worked as a gatekeeper for the Great Zhou dynasty for more than 100 years, and finally lost his body and soul. I thought that death was like the extinguishing of a lamp, and there was no place to settle this account, but I didn't expect to meet the other party here. You can imagine how shocked he was. Why are you here? Jiang Wu stared at this familiar face in disbelief. He clearly remembered that Yang Zhang breathed his last in front of him, and he watched the body being buried with his own eyes, and he personally ordered people to seal the imperial tomb. How could he still be alive? Han Zhang had already recognized the mysterious young man who had fallen from the sky on the balcony of the Golden Land Hotel that night and then disappeared. He couldn't help but laugh when he heard him ask this question. You broke into my room, on my bed, and asked me why I was here. Jiang Wu looked at him in shock, and suddenly remembered something, the scar he had left on Yang Zhang's heart with a spell. He immediately took off his bathrobe, which was already loose in the fight just now. Now it was pulled open by Jiang Wu, revealing a large area of his strong chest, and a vague mark could be seen on his heart. However, Han Zhang grabbed his wrist the next second and sneered, I like passionate people, but I don't like people who strip right away. After saying that, he turned his head to look at Yao Ping, who was standing at the door of the room, and gritted his teeth and said, Are you still standing there waiting for your boss to be raped? Yao Ping was indeed dumbfounded. He had seen passionate people, euphemistic people, and crazy people, but this was the first time he saw someone who forced their boss on the bed. Well, do you need to call the police? Let Zhu Chengming roll over here immediately. 5 minutes later, in the living room of lounge number 3. Zhu Chengming sat on the sofa and looked at the two people in front of him, squinting and smiling. Don't be nervous. I won't lynch in a society ruled by law. I'm not nervous. Jiang Wu said. I'm talking about the person next to you. Jiang Wu glanced at Zhang Xiaoyu next to him. He looked like he was about to faint after being brought up by the security guard just now. He was now curled up on the sofa, his whole body trembling. Zhang Xiaoyu pulled the corner of his mouth, his eyes empty. I heard that even if someone is buried in this kind of private house, it won't be discovered. Not buried alive. Zhu Changming lowered his head and chuckled, but you two trespassed into my Xiangxia villa and had bad intentions towards my guests. If I let you go for nothing, wouldn't anyone follow suit in the future? Don't you think so? Jiang Wu pursed his lips, and said directly, sorry, it's wrong for us to trespass into a private house, but we have no choice. Please forgive us, Mr. Zhu. You stripped my guests' clothes out of helplessness. That's not it. You are quite honest. Jiang Wu nodded, a gentleman is open and honest. Zhu Changming suppressed his laughter, stripping people's clothes openly. Jiang Wu, sorry. As the two were talking, the door behind them opened, and Han Zhang, who had gone in to change clothes before, walked out. A simple white shirt slightly tightened the muscles on the shoulders, and a few buttons on the chest were unbuttoned, revealing a protruding Adam's apple on top, and a small piece of muscular and firm chest below. The narrow waist was lean and strong, and the loose shirt hem was tucked into the waistband. The black trousers on the lower body made the legs slender and strong, and the lines were straight. There was no extra expression on the handsome and cold face, the black eyes were slightly depressed, and the slightly wet hair casually covered the forehead. It seemed casual but kept people away from it. The faint momentum made people dare not offend. Jiang Wu almost stared at the other party walking from the door, and his eyes were reluctant to blink. Zhang Xiaoyu on the side was desperate. My God, you should at least restrain yourself. Your eyes are about to burn a hole in my chest. Han Zhang strode to the sofa farthest from the two and sat down. When he bent down, he buttoned his shirt without a sound. A hint of disappointment suddenly appeared on Jiang Wu's face. Han Zhang. He sneered and raised his eyes to meet Jiang Wu's gaze. Do you want me to strip naked for you to see clearly? A hint of hope rose in Jiang Wu's eyes. Really? Han Zhang looked at him with a fake smile. What do you think? Ahem. Zhu Changming interrupted the strange conversation between the two at the right time. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Jiang is here to see me, right? I'm here to cooperate with Mr. Zhu. Jiang Wu took out the USB drive and put it on the coffee table. This contains evidence that the president of Zhongxing Entertainment, Lin Yaohui, forced artists to engage in sex transactions. I think Mr. Zhu should be very interested. Zhu Changming glanced at the USB drive and asked with a smile, this kind of thing should be difficult to take, right? I have my own way, but I can guarantee that there is no one else behind me, Mr. Zhu can rest assured, or you can go and check directly. I have experienced Mr. Jiang's methods to sneak into my Xiangxia villa with a swagger, but although this thing is tempting to me, it is not so easy to deal with Lin Yaohui. Jiang Wu was a little surprised. In his opinion, Lin Yaohui still wanted to please Yang Wenxiong. He thought Zhu Changming would be afraid of Yang Wenxiong, but he didn't expect it to be Lin Yaohui. He didn't hide it and directly expressed his doubts. Zhu Changming couldn't help laughing when he heard it. Yang Wenxiong? Who is he? He is a nouveau riche. He does have a lot of liquid funds. It's normal for someone to flatter him, but it's not difficult to deal with him. But Lin Yaohui, do you know who is the actual controller behind Zhongxing? Who? Fang Ziyi. Jiang Wu paused and guessed, someone from the Linhai Fang family. The four major families in Linhai, Han, Fang, Zhu, and Qin, are too famous. He heard about them many times when he was just reborn. Yes. Zhu Changming said slowly, the Fang family has 2 sons and 1 daughter. In recent years, Fang Jiyuan, the eldest son of the Fang family, has been in charge of the business, while Fang Ziyi, the 3rd son of the Fang family, has his own industry. Zhongxing was founded by him when he just graduated. If Fang Ziyi was just the 3rd young master of the Fang family, I might agree to this cooperation, but unfortunately, Fang Jiyuan fell ill at the beginning of last year. Now Fang Ziyi has the final say in the Fang family, which is a bit tricky. Jiang Wu understood that dealing with Zhongxing is equivalent to going against Fang Ziyi, and Fang Ziyi is backed by the Fang family's Heguang group. Zhu Changming, the boss of an entertainment company, is like hitting a rock with an egg against the Fang family. Although I can't beat Fang Ziyi, there are people who can. Zhu Chengming said suddenly. Hope rose in Jiang Wu's heart. Who? You know him too? I know him. Zhu Chengming coughed and looked at the person sitting next to him. Formally introduce, this is the executive president of Huayu Group and the future heir of the Han family, Han Zhang. Jiang Wu was stunned. He could see that Han Zhang's family was well off, but he didn't expect Fang Zhu to be the strongest Han family among the four surnames in Linhai. It is said that this family has been prosperous for 3 generations and has been a prestigious surname for hundreds of years. It is a real aristocratic family. Of course, only the Han family dared to confront Fang Ziyi, not to mention that the man in front of him was the only son of the Han family in this generation. He paused and looked at the man opposite him seriously. Then are you willing to help? Han Zhang looked at him with a curled mouth and slowly uttered 3 words, no. Jiang Wu pursed his lips and thought that it seemed that he had really lost his memory. Chapter 6 Scandal. After Yang Zhang's death, Jiang Wu often wondered in the candleless emo nights because he could not ascend to become an immortal. Was it destined that Yang Zhang would be his nemesis? Otherwise, how could Yang Zhang get lost on the mountain where he practiced in the vast territory of the Great Zhou, and why did he see his imperial purple aura that was more dazzling than the sun? The more intense the imperial purple aura is on a person, the more he is destined to be favored by heaven, so he is called the Son of Heaven. In ancient times, if a cultivator wanted to become an immortal, he had to get close to the purple aura and feel the destiny and understand the way of heaven, as his Taoist friend said. So he made a bet with the other party on impulse and formed a contract with the spell of the Siming Master. He would help him achieve his wish to protect the territory of the people of the Great Zhou, and Yang Zhang would help him ascend. This should have been a good story of a king and his subjects getting along well, but Yang Zhang was born in the royal family and had too many ideas, while Jiang Wu knew nothing at that time. His unreliable master only lost a copy of the inner strength and spells and went on a journey, so Jiang Wu did not realize that these two things were not equal. Even after Yang Zhang died, he still worked diligently to protect the people and territory of the Great Zhou, but he still could not ascend. Now that Yang Zhang is dead, another Han Zhang who is suspected to be Yang Zhang has come to defeat him. However, the Destiny Master cannot see his own destiny, so Jiang Wu does not know. He only knows that he has to find a way to ask Han Zhang in front of him to help him. He thought for a moment and said sincerely, "What do you want in exchange for helping me?" Han Zhang smiled, "You haven't settled the score for offending me before, and you still want me to help you." Jiang Wu said, "Whatever you want is fine." Zhang Xiaoyu almost fainted with his tone of money. Brother, he is the richest man in Linhai and the heir of the top 15 groups in the world. You only have 3,000 yuan in your card. Do you dare to ask him what he wants? It was the first time that Han Zhang had heard someone say this to him since he was a child. He felt it was quite fresh and raised his eyebrows. Anything is fine. Jiang Wu nodded. Although he was not in a stable state at the moment, he was a life master after all. The fate of the world was like a string, and he was the only one who plucked the string. No matter fame, fortune, grace and blessing, he could get it for Han Zhang. He was just punished by heaven, and he was not unable to bear it. But Han Zhang was born with fame, wealth and honor. With his ability, he would achieve great success in the future. As for the immortality that everyone wanted, he did not have the ability yet. So he added, "I can't live forever, I can't do that." It would be fine if he didn't add this sentence, it's even more crazy. Han Zhang glanced at the cheap clothes he was wearing from head to toe. You can't even afford a nice suit, and you dare to tell me you can have anything. Jiang Wu raised his eyes, you can also have money. 100 billion. Sure. I don't like money, I like fun. Han Zhang just felt that he was talking nonsense. He sneered disdainfully, and said casually, "If you can satisfy me, I can help you with this, and I don't care about your previous offense, but if you can't satisfy me, then let's settle the new and old accounts together." What Lin Yaohui can do, I can't do. Zhang Xiaoyu's face turned even paler when he heard this. This is clearly a dead end. The Han family has seen everything since childhood. What precious and rare things can satisfy him? Isn't this nonsense? Jiang Wu naturally knew this truth, but his idea was very simple. To make a person happy, isn't it enough to give him something he likes? When Yang Zhang was in a bad mood, he would send a strange phenomenon from the sky to make him happy. He thought that emperors all love to see strange phenomena, and Yang Zhang should be no exception. Sure enough, as long as he made the sun and moon shine together, the 5 planets align, etc., he could make him happy every time, which was very effective. Yang Zhong had seen it countless times in the past and was always amused by him, not to mention Han Zhong, who grew up in a materialistic modern society. However, he is not like that now. He can't make the sun and moon shine together, their 5 planets align, etc., and can only operate within the smallest range. He was thinking, and suddenly heard the sound of leaves flapping against each other outside. His heart moved slightly and he looked at Han Zhong. Do you like flowers? Han Zhong replied, generally. Zhu Changming smiled and said, Mr. Han has even been to the Amazon rainforest. The implication is that there are no flowers he hasn't seen, and sending flowers is useless. Jiang Wu turned a deaf ear and continued, please open the window, Mr. Han, the flowers are outside. There is indeed a garden in Xiangxia Villa, just behind this room. You can see it by opening the French window. He occasionally sits on the balcony. Han Zhong walked a few steps to the French window and stood still, asking, you don't want me to pick flowers in the garden by myself? Jiang Wu shook his head, of course not, just open the window. Han Zhong was a little impatient, looking at the clear eyes like a phoenix, and casually unlocked the French window. The moment the French window was opened, a gust of wind suddenly blew in the originally peaceful garden outside, blowing the purple iris bushes outside gently, and then the wind became stronger, the irises swayed left and right, and the light clouds in the night sky also blocked the moonlight. The night wind outside the house blew into their house with fine water vapor. Han Zhong turned his head to avoid it. At this time, Jiang Wu's voice suddenly sounded in his ears, stretch out your hand. Han Zhong subconsciously stretched out his hand, and a slightly cool and wet soft object fell into his palm. He looked back and showed a trace of surprise in his eyes. It was a purple iris blown by the wind. The soft and flying petals lay quietly in his hand, like a blue and purple bird with wings spread, noble and gentle. I saw this courtyard of purple irises when I came to this villa before, and I thought you might like it. Han Zhong opened his eyes slightly, and his heartbeat trembled slightly. The other 3 people in the living room showed shocked expressions at the same time. Zhang Xiaoyu stood up and shouted, fuck! How did you know that flower would be blown in? Of course, it was because he predicted that there would be wind and rain in advance, and then slightly changed the fate of the purple iris, so that it was not blown away by the wind and scattered on the ground, but fell into Han Zhong's palm. Changing the fortune of inanimate things such as flowers, plants and rocks has little impact on the fortune of heaven and earth. Jiang Wu used to kill time in the mountains. Later, he used it to scare Yang Zhong. He always succeeded, but it was useless after scaring him too much. But of course he couldn't tell the people in front of him. When Jiang Wu was thinking of an excuse, Zhu Changming next to him suddenly asked in amazement, is this a magic trick? Jiang Wu nodded hurriedly, yes, magic. Zhang Xiaoyu was pleasantly surprised, who did you learn this from? This trick is too amazing, right? It can even be on the Spring Festival Gala. Zhu Changming over there was also amazed. If this Xiangxia Villa was not his own, he would really suspect that someone was colluding with others to play some kind of trick. This trick of folding flowers out of thin air was too magical. Excellent. He couldn't help but applaud, and then looked at Han Zhong who was holding flowers in front of the French window. What do you think, Mr. Han? Not bad. Although Han Zhong only showed surprise at the beginning, he was satisfied. He was not a man who didn't keep his word. He raised his eyebrows and handed the flowers in his hand to his assistant Yao Ping, and met Jiang Wu's gaze. I agree to your request. Zhu Changming put away the USB on the coffee table after hearing this. I agree to cooperate. You will see what you want to see within a week. Jiang Wu paused. Within a week? So fast? Zhu Changming smiled and glanced at Han Zhong. Not fast. Thank you, Mr. Zhu. Jiang Wu understood, turned to look at Han Zhong. Thank you. Han Zhong glanced at him lightly, said nothing, turned around and left with his assistant. Chapter 7 Clarification. Jiang Wuben thought that Zhu Changming's words of "there will be results within a week" meant that the recording would be released within a week, and then the incident would be expanded step by step, but he obviously underestimated Han Zhong's ability. 3 days later, a term with a red explosion word floated at the top of the hot search. Hash Su Hongshan commits suicide hash. Hash Zhongxing Entertainment hash. Hash Entertainment Circle Hidden Rules hash. These terms dominated the screen for a whole week with an unshakable attitude. Not only did they show no sign of weakening, but they even implicated more Zhongxing Entertainment scandals. The cause of the incident was that Zhongxing artist Su Hongshan, who was enshrined as a god when she debuted but suddenly retired during the development period, suddenly committed suicide and was hospitalized. A Weibo post she left before her suicide caused an uproar. The Weibo post accused her of being sexually assaulted by Zhongxing President Lin Yaohui and Hengyuan Real Estate Vice President Yang Wenxiong 2 years ago, causing her mental trauma and multiple suicide attempts. After receiving multiple psychological treatments, she still had to retire. At the same time, it also pointed out that Lin Yaohui repeatedly forced his artists to engage in sexual transactions to obtain resources. As the incident fermented, several artists who had disappeared from the entertainment industry spoke out, confirming that the incident was true and willing to accept legal supervision of their remarks. Soon, many popular stars and veteran actors in the entertainment industry forwarded this Weibo to speak for Su Hongshan. The police quickly intervened in the investigation. Soon, it was reported that Lin Yaohui, the president of Zhongxing Entertainment, was taken away by the police for questioning, while Yang Wenxiong was still in the hospital, so the questioning was temporarily suspended. As the online public opinion soared, someone soon mentioned the incident of Jiang Wu and his marriage sponsor being photographed in a hotel a few days ago, and suspected that Jiang Wu was also forced. Just then, a surveillance video appeared on the internet. The video was shot on a hotel balcony. A young man in a white shirt was forced to the balcony step by several bodyguards in black clothes, and finally jumped off the building. The second half of the video was black, and the person who jumped off the building did not see what happened, but this video of only 30 seconds attracted the attention of the entire network again. Soon someone found out that the hotel in the video was the Jindi Hotel in Linhai, and even estimated the approximate floor based on the surrounding building signs. Comment area: 18K Gold IQ, Gemdale Hotel, Room 8, 11th floor. Don't you think he looks familiar? Mumbling. Could it be the person I thought of? Damn it. The more I look at this back, the more he looks like him. Please don't be a slave, it's Jiang Wu. The Jiang Wu who was said to have hooked up with a married sponsor some time ago. I said he wouldn't be that kind of person. He really made me cry to death. He was forced to jump off the building, but he didn't want to compromise. What a courage. Call me Aquaman. Oh, am I the only one who thinks it's a bit fake? If he jumps from the 11th floor, he will be disabled if he doesn't die. How could he go to the city center to beg for food and cheat money in a few days? Widowed king, maybe God blessed him and he fell into the green belt. Isn't this often played in TV dramas? Little Durder, it may not be Jiang Wu, he doesn't look like him at all. Big Cat, even if he was wrongly accused, his past deeds were all true, bullying newcomers, being detained for following women, being a big shot. Is he whitewashed now? TSK. Yu Hangyuan, is the nitpicker above reincarnated or did he not learn the compulsory education well? Let's put things in perspective, okay? Jiang Wu is the victim in the matter of the sponsor, so can't we speak for him? It's really funny. It was the first time that Jiang Wu saw so many people speaking for him since he woke up after his rebirth. He was surprised and couldn't help but sigh that Han Zhong had such a powerful hand and eyes that he even got the video of himself jumping off the building that night. Such means were no less than those of the high officials of the Great Zhou dynasty. Compared to his surprise, Zhang Xiaoyu seemed much calmer. He just said lightly, "What's the big deal? That's the Han family." Then he popularized the Han family, the head of the four surnames in Linhai, and the character Han Zhong to Jiang Wu. It is said that the Han family has been prosperous for 3 generations, and it was a prestigious surname 200 years ago. It is a real family. Even the current Huayu group has always maintained a cooperative relationship with it. After all, they have the strongest scientific research team, including Han Zhong himself, who is a related major. And such a long-standing family often pays more attention to the theory of numerology. Therefore, Han Zhong, the heir of this generation of the Han family, was judged by fate when he was born. It is said that he will die before the age of 16. However, although this President Han has been through many setbacks since childhood, he has grown up healthily to 27 and is extremely intelligent. At the age of 16, he was able to manage some affairs of the group. Later, after officially taking over the group, he made drastic reforms and innovations. It can be said that the Han family can maintain this status today, and Han Zhong, the heir, has made great contributions. And such an excellent and handsome boss is naturally very popular. Many men and women have confessed to him. Some are for family background, some for money, and some are just for Han Zhong, a high IQ science and engineering boss. Therefore, he has a lot of gossip, but no one knows whether it is true or false. But in fact, Han Zhang himself rarely appears in public. The rumors about him are often similar to that of a well-educated and graceful person, but he is decisive and almost ruthless. Zhang Xiaoyu was also quite surprised that they were let go this time. When I heard that his last name was Han, I even counted my inheritance. Zhang Xiaoyu sighed. Jiang Wu was puzzled. Is it that scary? My brother, that's Han Zhang. His eyes are enough to kill me several times. Only you think he is not scary. Jiang Wu was not surprised. Yang Zhang seemed to be like this in the past. Whether it was the border or the court, everyone who heard his name couldn't help but show fear, afraid that he was smiling in the last second and chopped off the head of the person in front of him in the next second. In fact, it was not false. Yang Zhang was like this. But he had never been afraid, because when he met Yang Zhang, he was just an 18-year-old boy who had just moved out of the cold palace. He was so poor that he could only go up the mountain to dig bamboo shoots. As a result, he met him and tricked him back home with a few words. When he arrived at the so-called palace, Jiang Wu was dumbfounded. What was the difference between this and a haunted house? There was even only one bed, and the two of them could only squeeze on a small broken bed. It was okay in winter, but it was too hot in summer, especially Yang Zhang had a high body temperature, like a small stove. He was very disgusted and wanted to sleep on the floor, but Yang Zhang insisted on hugging him and refused. He also said that people with the aura of the emperor could control their body temperature. He naturally didn't believe it, but Yang Zhang's body temperature dropped on the second night, so he had to let him hug him. Until one day he found that Yang Zhang secretly used well water to cool down. The next day, he set up a stall on the street and calculated the marriages of the girls for more than a month. After saving enough money, he made another bed. On the day the bed was made, Yang Zhang had a bitter face, and he couldn't figure out why he was not warm anymore, and why he had to make a bed. Later, on the battlefields and in the temples, there were swords and shadows, conspiracies and intrigues. Someone alienated them, someone framed them. No matter what the situation, Yang Zhang's eyes were still gentle and cunning when he looked at him, but when those black eyes looked elsewhere, they seemed to be instantly covered with a layer of cold and indestructible ice, like a sharp arrow piercing the wind and sand of the border, looking at the holy mountain king's court of Beatty, and behind him was the imperial city of Xiangju, which was full of dangers. He had long been accustomed to Yang Zhang making people bleed 5 steps away the moment before, and the next moment he could hold his hand and say with a cunning face that he actually stole Jiang Wu's favorite kyotusu. Yang Zhang has always been the same Yang Zhang, but he just doesn't remember him. Chapter 8 Variety Show. A few days later, as Lin Yaohui was investigated, Jiang Wu's agent Yu Guangyuan was also taken away. Jiang Wu also met him for testimony. He cursed at first, and then begged Jiang Wu not to sue him for helping him in the past. Jiang Wu knew that Yu Guangyuan brought him into the entertainment industry when his original body was in the most difficult time, and did earn medical expenses for his mother and pay off a lot of debts, but when he had no intention of killing his original body, all these were cleared. He didn't even look at him, and left after completing the process. 2 days later, Zhongxing found him. It is estimated that they guessed that he was involved behind the scenes, but because they didn't know his relationship with Han Zhang, they just warned him in a weird way and threatened him that the contract had not expired. Jiang Wu was not afraid. When he signed the contract, he had just debuted from the C position of the draft. The treatment was pretty good, and there were not many restrictions on him. At most, he would not be given resources in the future and completely hide him. This was no different from before. He has more urgent things to do right now. When Jiang Wu looked at the green pepper and pork shreds without pork shreds, the tomato scrambled eggs without eggs, the seaweed egg drop soup with a mirror, and the approaching rent deadline, he realized that making money was imminent. Fortune telling is not enough. After the last street crowd, he realized that things are different now. In the past, fortune telling could make you a national councillor, but now fortune telling can only land you in jail. And he finally managed to whitewash himself a little, so he couldn't leave a stain on himself by being caught for street fraud. Didn't you say that when I first debuted, I was very popular, and no one asked me to act? He couldn't help asking Zhang Xiaoyu. Zhang Xiaoyu was afraid of hurting his self-esteem, so he said tactfully, "Brother, it was several years ago when you debuted. In recent years, the entertainment industry has already replaced several batches of people. Moreover, there are always too many people in this circle and too few resources. How can you grab resources without some connections and backgrounds? Originally, these were all taken care of by the company, but now they are like wild people who are not wanted by anyone, so they can only ask around. Zhang Xiaoyu has asked almost all possible crews these days, but they either declined or ignored him directly. He has no choice. If there is no drama, is there nothing else? There is a variety show, but I rejected it for you. Why? Zhang Xiaoyu was stunned. Didn't you say you would never record a variety show again? Jiang Wu paused. I don't remember. Zhang Xiaoyu briefly recalled that it was probably when he had just debuted for 3 years. Because he was always unpopular, Yu Guangyuan took him a detective variety show called Who is the Murderer? As a result, because he didn't know a lot of common sense knowledge, he often made mistakes and dragged his feet, and he lied to cover up his mistakes, which made the audience very disgusted with him and called him a 9 leaky fish. In order to stay in the variety show, Yu Guangyuan began to hype up CP for him. As long as there were guests with higher status in each episode, he would try his best to get close to them and spend money to buy CP marketing. Unfortunately, his intention to get close was too obvious, and the CP was too hard to be accepted. Instead, it aroused the disgust of netizens, and finally caused public anger and scolded him to quit the variety show. It is said that the original person shut himself up for half a year. Such a weak person, no matter what Yu Guangyuan said, he was unwilling to accept variety shows again. Obviously, he was afraid of being scolded and left a shadow. How much does this variety show pay? 100,000, one contract per period. Take it. Now Zhang Xiaoyu has no job, and he has more than 1,000 left. Not to mention the penalty for breach of contract, he has to solve the problem of food, clothing, housing and transportation first, and pay the rent, otherwise he will have to sleep on the street. As soon as he agreed, Zhang Xiaoyu started to contact the people there. As a result, after chatting on the phone, Zhang Xiaoyu advised him to look at other things and forget about this variety show. Jiang Wu was puzzled. What's wrong? Zhang Xiaoyu said anxiously, I heard that this travel variety show should be easy. As long as you work hard and eat sweet food, there shouldn't be any big problems. Anyway, it's only one episode, but I just found out that the places of travel in this show are different. Where? Deserted island. Jiang Wu thought he had heard it wrong. What? Deserted island, survival on a deserted island. Zhang Xiaoyu couldn't even laugh. Have you seen Robinson Crusoe? Just like that, send a group of modern people to an uninhabited island and let them live for a few days. Jiang Wu was also stunned. Who came up with this idea? Director Yang Chen is a very thoughtful person and is well known in the circle. He used to be a photographer at the Discovery Channel, but later he felt unsatisfied, so he switched to the entertainment industry as a variety show director, specializing in recording some outdoor programs. Very thoughtful. It's more than just an idea, it's simply a fantasy. If a group of outdoor exploration experts go, it's okay, but you let a group of people who don't even make their own coffee go to survive in the wild. Isn't this pure abuse? He glanced at Jiang Wu's frail body, and didn't dare to think whether his brother would be killed by the sea breeze on the first day after arriving on the deserted island. His brother was a pretty boy, not a tough guy. Why would he participate in a deserted island survival? However, Jiang Wu just nodded after a moment of silence. Okay. Zhang Xiaoyu's face wrinkled. Brother, are you really not going to consider it again? No, it's just a deserted island, a small matter. A week later, a variety show called Exploring the Unknown Journey, abbreviated as Exploring the Unknown, officially announced the guest lineup. The show was very gimmicky, highlighting their desert island survival element, and listed the guest list, namely Guanqi, Wu Jiao, Ji Ruoxuan, Nai Yuman, Bai Yang, and Jiang Wu. Except for Bai Yang, who is a little more gentle, the others are either tough guys who often play in military movies, or girls who do fitness all year round. Even Nai Yuman and Ji Ruoxuan, who are idols, are the best from Japanese and Korean talent shows. They are good at singing and dancing and have strong physical strength. In contrast, Jiang Wu, a thin actor, is like a scholar who accidentally entered the member group of pilgrims. It feels like he will be blown into the sea by the sea breeze at any minute. Sure enough, the comment area is full of ridicule and ridicule. Mumbling. Is Jiang Wu mainly playing a styling role in it? Yu Xianxian, har ha 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 ha. It feels like he will be scared to death by bugs as soon as he gets ashore. Qing Yuman, is it true? Our human is not afraid of bugs tilde. Spicy and stinky treasure, the program team has a grudge against Jiang Wu, so they want to take the opportunity to trick him to the island and die accidentally. Your god, forget it, the program team has a grudge against other people. It's a teamwork. With Jiang Wu as a drag, it's the others who are suffering. The king of tanking, I'm dying of laughter. If Jiang Wu is really pushed by Guanqi, will she fight directly in the show? I wonder who will win. Go home often, Guanqi, she works out, she won't suffer a loss if they really fight. After all, she is the woman who sent the scumbag to the hospital with one punch. Is this name necessary? Not necessarily, after all, she is a soft persimmon who was forced to jump off the building and then quietly went to the street to beg for food. Her ability is unknown, but she has a strong desire to survive. The god of Tutsao, I'm dying of laughter. Jiang Wu, you kicked cotton when you kicked me. Milk tea drink, speechless, can Judowoyu stop ruining variety shows? I really don't want to see him show his ignorance, and he catches anyone to get attention and hype up CP. I vomit. Oh. Xiong Mimi, netizens are so easy to deceive. They can whitewash all the previous negative information with just a few press releases. Jiang Wu may be a victim, but he is not a good person. Chapter 9 Deserted Island begins. The reaction of netizens was similar to what the program team expected. Director Yang Chen invited Jiang Wu to be a control group. Although Bai Yang is gentle, he is well educated and knows a lot of knowledge. Such a military advisor will not only not be disliked, but will be very important. But Jiang Wu is different. He has no physical strength, no intelligence, and his emotional intelligence is not high. People are curious about how he will be a drag on the deserted island, what weird things he will do, and when he will be hated by everyone. These are all highlights. Soon, the official Weibo of Exploring the Unknown Journey received more than 10,000 comments, and the recording time of the first episode was officially confirmed in 3 days. 3 days later, the pristine island of more than 300 square kilometers, white stones were exposed, and the blue sea rolled up foam and washed the reefs, leaving a wet mark on the beach. After Jiang Wu was sent to the island by the program team, he found that he was the only one who really didn't bring anything. The others brought some personal belongings. Most of the girls brought sunscreen and mosquito repellent, and the boys all brought underwear and swimming trunks, probably planning to swim. There were 6 guests in total. When he arrived, the other guests had already started chatting. He remembered the words that Zhang Xiaoyu repeatedly reminded him before leaving, and took the initiative to greet the other 5 people. Hello, I'm Jiang Wu. Hello, brother Jiang, I'm Ji Ruoxuan, I just returned to China this year, I'm 3 years younger than you can just call me Xiaoxian, please give me more advice. The young man with chestnut curly hair smiled at him enthusiastically, with a tiger tooth on his lips, and his curly hair was blown all over the place by the sea breeze, looking quite pleasing. The attitudes of the other 4 were not so enthusiastic. When Jiang Wu greeted him, they just looked at him with a polite smile. After Ji Ruoxuan finished speaking, no one took the initiative to pick up the conversation, and the scene was awkward for 2 seconds. At this time, one of the sweet girls with ponytails took the initiative to break the silence and introduced everyone. I am Naiyuman, the youngest member of the Flower and Dear Girl group. This tall and handsome guy with a bronzed look is Wu Jiao, the gentle and handsome guy next to him is Bai Yang, the smart guy, and the cool and elegant lady next to me is Guanqi. Jiang Wu nodded to them, hello. Hello. Bai Yang, who was wearing glasses and looked gentle and elegant, was also handsome and smiled at him politely. Wu Jiao pulled the corner of his mouth and said politely, I am Wu Jiao, just call me Brother Wu. The last one was a short-haired girl with a cold temperament, wearing a denim jacket and trousers. She was the woman who was said to have punched the scumbag into the hospital, Guanqi. Guanqi looked at him expressionlessly and said, in a neutral voice. Jiang Wu could see that she didn't like him, and he was not curious. After all, no one here really liked him. After the 6 people in front of the camera introduced themselves awkwardly and subtly, director Yang Chen bared his teeth and began to announce the rules of the first episode. Experience the secret of harmonious coexistence and mutual assistance between man and nature, explore the unknown journey, welcome all guests. You will spend 3 days on this island. On the first day, you will be assigned a tool. This tool will determine the quality of your life on the deserted island. It may be a dagger or an embroidery needle. It depends on your luck. 3 days. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone wailed. Na Yumeng asked impatiently, then what should we do to wash and change clothes? Of course, we have to solve it on the spot, otherwise how can we call it deserted island survival? Isn't it a journey to explore the unknown? Director Yang, you finally told the truth, right? Yang Chen smiled, don't worry, the program team is not that harsh. Sleeping bags, cold-resistant items, and medicines will be provided to everyone. There are also professional medical first aid personnel, and you won't really get into trouble. But all other daily necessities need to be found by yourself. Bai Yang immediately raised an objection. This island is very large, we have never been here before, it is unlikely to find food and water in a short time. The program team will send you a map of the island, which will mark the distribution points, distances, and time spent on supplies in every corner of the island. Later, after you select a captain, it will be given to your captain for safekeeping. In addition, the program team has buried 3 tokens on this island. You will get a clue about the token every day. Each token can be exchanged for food once. If you find all 3 tokens, you will complete the task and can leave the island at any time tilde. Several people looked surprised, and they said that 3 days was a bit too long. Generally, a variety show can be recorded for a day and a night at most to prevent the material from being cut out. But they may sit in the camp for an afternoon or pick up firewood for a day on this deserted island. This is too boring, so they simply add some materials, such as a main task, so that the materials are enough, which not only avoids insufficient materials, but also avoids too much materials and wastes time. After announcing the rules, the 6 people elected Wu Jiao, who was responsible for physical strength and the oldest, as the captain according to the requirements of the program team. He was responsible for keeping the map, arranging the division of labor among the team members, and distributing tools. The program team brought a lot of express boxes. Wu Jiao drew 6 boxes on behalf of all the members, and opened a dagger and an iron pot, as well as a fishing rod, a climbing rope, a windproof lighter, and a blade. Except for the blade as big as a nail clipper, the others are necessities for survival in the wild, which is not bad. After the tools were drawn, the program team quickly announced the clue of the first token, which was only 1 line of words: 3 brothers, Li on the left and Jiang on the right. 3 brothers. 1 surnamed Li, and 1 surnamed Jiang. Several people were confused. None of them had the surname Li, let alone Jiang? Wu Jiao asked, Director, don't you have any hints? Director Yang smiled, when we lose our way on the deserted island, please always remember to look up at the stars above our heads. Stars? Jiang Wu's eyes moved slightly. Several people subconsciously looked at Bai Yang. Bai Yang pondered for a moment and said helplessly, I read a lot of wilderness survival encyclopedias and wild animal and plant illustrations before I came here. I don't know much about astronomy and astrology. It may take me some time to solve this mystery. After hearing this, several people gave up the idea of solving the mystery first. After all, even Bai Yang said that he couldn't figure it out for a while, and they would only waste time thinking about it. Ji Ruoxuan comforted, the hidden Easter egg grand prize of the program team is not so easy to solve. It is normal to be difficult to solve. Jiang Wu had not spoken all the time, and suddenly said, in fact, as long as you refer to the map, you may be able to solve it. Several people looked at him and didn't respond. Wu Jiao gave a fake smile, forget it, let's not waste time. Bai Yang is from Tsinghua University, and even he doesn't know the answer. We poor students should not overestimate our abilities, right? He said, but in fact, most of the team members are from performing arts schools. Guanqi's parents are professors. Only Jiang Wu dropped out of high school. The others knew it well and didn't say anything for a while, but they agreed in their hearts. After all, the top student said the answer was difficult, so why would he, a poor student, dance in front of the camera? Jiang Wu glanced at a few people and said lightly, okay. Chapter 10 Teams. Wu Jiao deliberately breathed a sigh of relief in front of the camera, as if he had coaxed an ignorant child. This reaction made the others feel more dissatisfied with Jiang Wu. Guanqi rolled her eyes directly at the camera. Wu Jiao quickly began to distribute tools. The climbing rope was not used at the moment and had to be put aside. The iron pot was assigned to Ji Ruoxuan to fetch water, accompanied by Jiang Wu. The nail clipper-sized blade was given to Jiang Wu. Jiang Wu looked at the blade but didn't say anything. Instead, Ji Ruoxuan couldn't help but speak, Brother Wu, this blade can only cut nails. What if we encounter danger on the road? Can we change it to the dagger? There is only one dagger, we have to use it somewhere else. Don't worry, the program team won't really find an island full of wild animals, snakes and insects for us to stay. But it takes more than 3 hours to get water back and forth, and it will be dark when we come back. How about we use seawater to distill some today? Fresh water is a necessary resource in the wild, more important than food, and seawater distillation takes too long. I know it's hard to get water. If I didn't have to stay here to guide others, I would definitely go by myself. Wu Jiao patted Ji Ruoxuan with an embarrassed look, and looked at Jiang Wu again. It's all for everyone. Thank you for your hard work. Jiang Wu glanced at him, said nothing, and left directly. Ji Ruoxuan hurriedly followed with the pot. Ji Ruoxuan and Jiang Wu walked in the jungle for half an hour. There were trees and bushes everywhere, winding vines tangled and thorns everywhere. It was difficult for the two people with only the iron pot to move forward. The photographer behind them had his face and hands cut. Ji Ruoxuan wiped the sweat from his head and looked at the road covered with thorns in front of him. He said angrily, I said I should bring a dagger, but Brother Wu insisted that I didn't need it. How can I get through? Then we won't go through. Jiang Wu suddenly said. Ji Ruoxuan was stunned. Are we not going to get water? Get it, but not to the location on the map. Jiang Wu's eyes fell on the winding brown vines behind him, and his fingertips shook out a thin blade, pot. Ji Ruoxuan followed with the pot in a daze. The thin blade quickly passed over the vines at a subtle tilt angle. In just a moment, the wrist-thick vines were cut in half, and the thin blade was not damaged at all. Clear fresh water slowly flowed out of the vines. Ji Ruoxuan was stunned. Awesome, his knife skills are as good as those of Lanzhou ramen chefs. It took less than an hour for the two to come back with a large pot of fresh water. Everyone was surprised and asked how they came back so quickly. Ji Ruoxuan couldn't wait to describe how Jiang Wu found a lot of fresh water from their vines, and especially repeatedly praised Jiang Wu's amazing knife skills. Wu Jiao's expression suddenly became serious after hearing this. How can you drink water in the wild? What if it's poisonous? Ji Ruoxuan was stunned by the scolding, and said hesitantly, Brother Jiang said it's okay. If he says it's drinkable, then drink it. Wu Jiao said anxiously, there are several of us. If something happens after drinking it, the medical staff of the program team can't save it. Bai Yang lowered his head and tasted the water in the pot. There is no peculiar smell, and it's not astringent. It should be drinkable. What you found should be water vine, which is an important channel for obtaining fresh water in the wild, but it's really hard to find in the wild. You are lucky. It was obvious that he didn't think Jiang Wu really knew water vine. Wu Jiao glanced at Jiang Wu indifferently. Not every time you're so lucky, you'd better be careful next time. Jiang Wu's tone was slightly cold. I said it was fake, but he said it was real. The expressions of several people were a little embarrassed, and Bai Yang hurriedly explained, they didn't mean that, it's just because I know more about this aspect, not because I don't believe you. Ji Ruoxuan and Nai Yumeng also spoke up. Jiang Wu raised his eyes to look at Wu Jiao. In that case, you wrongly blamed me, shouldn't you apologize to me? Wu Jiao's expression changed slightly. I questioned it out of consideration for everyone's safety. This is my responsibility as the captain. And your behavior is indeed problematic. I just said that I was lucky this time, but what about next time? How dare you let Ji Ruoxuan drink it directly? Ji Ruoxuan hurriedly said, I want to drink it myself. Wu Jiao asked back, isn't it because he said it's not poisonous that you dare to drink it? Did he stop you when you drank it? Ji Ruoxuan choked. Indeed, he drank it because Jiang Wu said it was not poisonous, and Jiang Wu did not stop him. Although he didn't know why he believed Jiang Wu at the time, he was indeed a little scared when he thought about it now. What if it was really poisonous? Nai Yumeng whispered, Jiang Wu, Brother Wu also cares about everyone, so don't be angry. Jiang Wu asked back calmly, does that mean you won't apologize? Guan Qi said impatiently, it's only the first day, and many things haven't been resolved. Can you stop arguing over trivial matters? How can we cooperate in the next few days? Jiang Wu said, then don't cooperate. Several people were stunned. Guan Qi looked at Jiang Wu with wide eyes, what do you mean? Literally. Jiang Wu turned and looked at the director Yang Chen in front of him, you said the team cooperated, but you didn't say we couldn't split into two teams, right? Yang Chen was also a little confused. Although the team did have differences as he expected, this trend was wrong. What about the quarrel and adjustment before cooperation? Why did they break up right away? Oh, yes, but who are you going to be on the same team with? I'll be on my own. Yang Chen opened his mouth for a long time before he responded. Well, Jiang Wu, surviving on a deserted island often requires teamwork to survive, and you may not be able to survive alone. Jiang Wu originally wanted to cooperate with these people, but now it seems unnecessary, no need. After a moment of silence, the director team chose to pause and pulled a few people to discuss urgently, but the camera was still running. Wu Jiao and others sat together without saying a word. Jiang Wu sat alone in a corner not far away, and the atmosphere was very stagnant. No one expected that the conflict would escalate to this point on the first day, and no one thought that Jiang Wu would make such a fuss because of this little thing. Half an hour later, the director team discussed the result and agreed to Jiang Wu's request, and announced that Jiang Wu would form another team and took over the second map as the captain. At the same time, the director announced that because Jiang Wu was separated from a team alone and was on the weak side, he could take any tool from the original team. As soon as these words came out, Wu Jiao and others immediately panicked. Wu Jiao hurriedly said, "Director, this is unfair. Can't he just draw the tool himself?" "Yes, Director, the tool was originally drawn by Brother Wu, and everyone's luck is different." However, Director Yang did not reply to them and continued to let Jiang Wu choose a tool to take away. "No need." Jiang Wu raised the thin blade between his fingers. "This is enough." The people on the side were all stunned. They were still worried that Jiang Wu would take the opportunity to take away a dagger or a lighter, but they didn't expect that he only took a blade, which made them seem to have overreacted just now. Their whole team stood there awkwardly, and only realized at this moment that Jiang Wu was serious. Guan Qi turned away expressionlessly. This is his own choice, but no one forced him. Just don't cry when the time comes. Although the other few people didn't speak, they all had the same idea. This is a deserted island, he has nothing by himself, not to mention anything else, he doesn't even have a lighter, he can't eat raw food, and he will probably have to beg them when the time comes. The director team also felt that Jiang Wu would eventually ask Wu Jiao and others for help, but this would make the show more interesting, and they were happy to see it happen. Chapter 11 Quarrel. After the division was settled, everyone started to have lunch. Na Yumeng and Guan Qi had caught a sea fish and picked up some shrimps, crabs and conchs. It was not enough for 6 adults, but now there were only 5 people. Although they were still not full, everyone got more. It can be said that Jiang Wu's departure was a good thing. The few people knew it tacitly, and no one asked Jiang Wu when they were dividing the food. In the cameraman's lens, Wu Jiao and others were eating around the fire on one side, and Jiang Wu was sitting alone in the corner on the other side, looking very desolate. Jiang Wu's cameraman was called Da Liu, a tall man from northeast China. He couldn't help asking Jiang Wu, "Aren't you hungry?" "Not bad," Jiang Wu said. The cameraman thought he was holding on, but the next moment Jiang Wu got up and walked towards the jungle. The other team looked over subconsciously, and Bai Yang couldn't help shouting, "It's dangerous to go to the jungle alone." Jiang Wu paused slightly, said, and then went into the forest without looking back. The team behind him didn't say anything. Everyone knew that Jiang Wu was going to find food. After all, he hadn't eaten since he got on the island, and he went to find water with Ji Ruoxuan. How could he not be hungry? As if to alleviate everyone's guilt, Na Yumeng said, "In fact, if 6 people eat together, everyone will not be full, so ordering food is the same as not eating." Wu Jiao followed up, "Everyone take a break and go find food in the afternoon." Everyone nodded. An hour later, Jiang Wu returned empty-handed. Wu Jiao and others noticed it, thinking that he didn't find any food. It was not surprising. After all, it took 2 hours to go back and forth to the nearest food acquisition point. How could he get it after only 1 hour? The director team was also afraid that Jiang Wu would faint from hunger, so they used the intercom to notify the cameraman Da Liu, asking him to persuade Jiang Wu not to really faint from hunger and delay the filming. However, Da Liu was silent for a long time before he said in a complicated tone, "Director, don't worry about him, he won't be hungry." Not only won't be hungry, he ate more than the others over there. Huh. Yang Chen was confused. It was already 3:30 in the afternoon after the break. It got dark quickly on the island. Wu Jiao and others had planned to go to the forest to hunt rabbits or something, but in order to get back to the camp before dark, they only brought back some wild fruits. A few wild fruits were naturally not enough to fill them up. A few people were afraid that they would not be able to sleep at night due to hunger, so they hurriedly got into their sleeping bags to rest at night. The next morning, Wu Jiao and others were still awakened by hunger, so they had to get up, wash and prepare to find food. However, as soon as they walked to the beach, they saw a leisurely figure sitting at a wooden table drinking tea, eating breakfast and enjoying the sea view. The five of them were stunned. Looking at the food on the table, they almost thought they were hallucinating from hunger. Guanqi was the first to react. He looked at the director team with anger and hunger. Director, what's going on? Where did he get the food? This is cheating. Ji Ruoxuan had already come to Jiang Wu's table, his eyes were green with hunger. The program team is absolutely fair and just. This table of food was exchanged by Jiang Wu from the program team. Yang Chen raised the trumpet and announced, at 7 o'clock this morning, Jiang Wu has found the first token and exchanged it for a table of breakfast and tea. Token. Ji Ruoxuan looked at Jiang Wu in shock. Brother Jiang, how did you find the token? That clue is incoherent, how do you know where it is? Left corner Li, right corner General, refers to the corner of the 28 constellations, and the corner belongs to Wood, which is Jiao, the head of the 7 eastern constellations, with 2 stars like the 2 corners of the blue dragon. There is a forest in the east of the map given by the program team. There are 3 largest trees in the forest, corresponding to the 3 stars of the corner, and the token is under the tree in the middle. Jiang Wu drank a sip of tea elegantly and said slowly, I said that as long as you refer to the map, you can crack it. The faces of several people changed again and again when they heard it. Jiang Wu did say it, but no one believed him, and even Wu Jiao was unwilling to take out the map. Ji Ruoxuan sighed with a sad face, you are so amazing, brother Jiang, you even know the stars. I should have listened to you earlier. His words made several people feel uncomfortable. After all, who would have thought that such a notoriously stupid person could know so much and even have such a good brain? Wu Jiao looked unhappy. After all, he not only rejected Jiang Wu at that time, but also deliberately mocked him. Now he was slapped in the face. He missed a big meal in vain. Their hunger yesterday was just like a joke. Several people watched Jiang Wu eat the food carelessly, and their stomachs growled with hunger. Na Yumin couldn't help shouting, I'm so hungry. Me too. Finally, Na Yumin spoke first. She stepped forward and asked Jiang Wu, I'm so hungry. Can you give me some food? Just a little bit. I'm so hungry. Jiang Wu didn't even look at her. I remember we have been divided into 2 teams. But we were in the same team before. Wu Jiao frowned and said, I offended you yesterday. It has nothing to do with Yumin. Jiang Wu raised his eyebrows, did I say it had something to do with her? Then why don't you want to share food with her? Why should I share food with her? Because? Wu Jiao paused, isn't this the most basic compassion of being a human being? What reason do you need? Really? Jiang Wu shook the teacup in his hand and lowered his eyes, then why didn't anyone share food with me yesterday? The faces of several people froze. Na Yumin said to Jiang Wu in a soft voice, it's not enough anyway. Even if I share it with you, you won't be full. Besides, we didn't dare to talk to you at that time. Wu Jiao said with a stern face, I apologize to you for what happened yesterday. Can you share some food with us? Jiang Wu didn't say anything. Bai Yang said softly, or share some with the 2 girls. Na Yumin said pitifully, I have hypoglycemia. I will faint when I'm hungry. Just as Jiang Wu was about to speak, Guanqi suddenly sneered and turned away, no need. I don't believe I can still starve to death. Jiang Wu raised the corner of his mouth, forget it then. Na Yumin looked at Guanqi with an unpleasant expression. Having said this, Wu Jiao didn't insist any more. With a cold face, he sat down with others in the open space opposite. Ji Ruoxuan wanted to follow him, but he was so hungry that he said pitifully, Brother Jiang, I'm so hungry that my heart is burning. Can I borrow some food from you and return it to you later? He said this without any hope. After all, Jiang Wu didn't even show mercy to a cute girl like Na Yumin. Why should he, a grown man, do that? However, what was unexpected was that Jiang Wu actually nodded, okay. Ji Ruoxuan was overjoyed and shouted excitedly, "Thank you, Brother Jiang. Brother Jiang, I love you so much." Na Yumeng, who was not far away, saw this scene and glared at Guanqi hatefully. If this woman hadn't been pretending to be noble, Jiang Wu would definitely have let her go. Na Yumeng bit her lip, and the more she thought about it, the more unwilling she became. She walked to Jiang Wu again and said half coquettishly, "Jiang Wu, can I borrow some from you? Anyway, you can't eat it anymore, so it's not a waste to give it to me. You're late." "It's not too late. Don't you still have a cake?" Na Yumeng looked at the stack of exquisite cakes on the table and couldn't help swallowing. "I have a use for this cake. This cake won't last long." Before she finished, 7 or 8 birds suddenly flew over the jungle above their heads and landed in front of them. They were all grey, with only a black feather on their heads, like a phoenix feather. Jiang Wu picked up the remaining cakes on the plate, crushed them into foam, and sprinkled them on the ground. The birds instantly flapped their wings and flew up. Chapter 12 High Tide. Everyone was stunned by Jiang Wu's move. "Jiang Wu, what are you doing?" Na Yumeng stared at the food on the ground and asked in disbelief. Jiang Wu said lightly, "Feed the birds." The birds came forward to eat the food, and some even landed on the table in front of Jiang Wu. Jiang Wu simply crushed the cakes and sprinkled them on the table and the ground. The birds were eating happily, and the people behind him were completely ignited with anger. "Jiang Wu, you're going too far." Wu Jiao stood up and pointed at him and cursed, "It's fine if you don't give us any, but you'd rather throw it out to feed the birds than give human a piece. Aren't you going too far?" Jiang Wu turned a deaf ear and continued to feed the birds, making Wu Jiao's anger suffocate in his chest. The others were so hungry that they had no strength to speak. Na Yumeng knew that there was nothing to eat when she saw this, and sat back weakly. Several people listened to the director team's announcement of today's token clues with hungry stomachs. This time the clues directly told them that it was on the cliff northwest of the island, but the journey was very far, and it would take more than 5 hours to go back and forth. In their current state, they couldn't go at all. After discussing, they decided to go get it at night, and the most urgent thing was still to fill their stomachs. However, the hungry people soon became dissatisfied with the division of labor. First, Guanqi thought that it was important to find food at the moment, so he could let Ji Ruoxuan go to get water alone, and Na Yumeng would go into the woods with them to find food. Na Yumeng didn't want to go into the woods and wanted to stay and fish, but Guanqi felt that Wu Jiao had more experience in fishing and should leave fishing to him. Na Yumeng said that she was hungry and had no energy, so she didn't want to go into the woods to find food. Guanqi didn't want to spoil her, and angrily said, "Who isn't hungry? Everyone is hungry." Na Yumeng was originally holding back her anger because of the previous incident, and she just let it out, and asked angrily, "If it weren't for you, would I be hungry? Jiang Wu was going to share my food, but you had to say that." Guanqi's face turned green, saying that Jiang Wu didn't want to share her food, and she said last night that it was fortunate that 5 people shared the food, otherwise it wouldn't be enough. The two of them completely fell out and quarreled. At first, the others tried to dissuade them, but soon everyone ran out of energy and let them quarrel. It didn't take long for the two to quarrel anymore. Na Yumeng wiped her tears and cried softly, and Guanqi turned her back to the camera with a cold face. The rest of the people had no choice. Wu Jiao could only leave Na Yumeng to go fishing, and let Bai Yang stay with them. Ji Ruoxuan fetched water, and he took Guanqi to find food. While several people were having internal conflicts, Jiang Wu was taking a leisurely walk on the beach after feeding the birds. The director team found this scene inexplicably funny. Jiang Wu's photographer Da Liu couldn't help asking, "Although you have breakfast, there are lunch and dinner later. Aren't you going to prepare?" He said it tactfully, implying that because of what happened in the morning, Wu Jiao and others probably wouldn't consider him when distributing food. Jiang Wu replied calmly, "Why are you in a hurry? Just grill a fish. Do you have a fire? Drill wood to make fire." Da Liu was stunned for a moment, and Jiang Wu glanced at the lens. "Just kidding, do you really believe it?" The phoenix-like eyes slightly raised, making the originally cold face instantly full of temptation, and Da Liu, who was used to seeing beauties, couldn't help but jump in his heart. He was immersed in the beauty of the close-up shot, and the next second Jiang Wu caught a fish from the water with his bare hands, and the water splashed on his lens. What happened just now? How did he catch the fish? How did you catch it just now? As long as you have your hands. Jiang Wu turned around and walked towards the camp, holding the gills of the fish, and happened to meet a duo who rolled up their sleeves, rolled up their trouser legs, and held branches to look for fish in the sea. By Yang. Nayuman. The director team who saw this scene not far away couldn't help but sigh. This kid must have been a kingfisher in his previous life, so he can catch fish. When Wu Jiao and others came back, they happened to see Jiang Wu carrying a sea fish weighing more than a pound back to the camp. They looked at the sour wild fruits in their hands and fell silent. Wu Jiao felt sour in his heart, but he still said stubbornly, he has no fire, so he can only eat sashimi. Before he finished speaking, Jiang Wu took out 2 stones and a small ball of dry velvet from his pocket, and got the fire in a few seconds, lit the fire, and started to grill the fish. The whole process was as smooth as filming a TV series, and everyone was stunned. Da Liu, you know why I say he can't be hungry. Director team. Now everyone can't understand that Jiang Wu is not holding back, it is clearly them who held Jiang Wu back before. After all, it took them a whole hour to successfully light the fire with a windproof lighter, but now he can light the fire with 2 stones. Jiang Wu didn't think his operation was so great. In his opinion, finding flint and lighting a fire in the wild is a basic operation, and teenagers in Daeju can do it. At noon, Jiang Wu ate a fish, plus a few sour fruits that Ji Ruoxuan gave him in return, and had a full meal. Wu Jiao's team on the side was all starving. At this moment, Ji Ruoxuan suddenly exclaimed, Yuman fainted. Everyone quickly surrounded Na Yuman, and the director team immediately sent someone to check. In the end, they guessed that she fainted from hunger. The team began to communicate with the program team whether they could make an exception to give Na Yuman some food. Yang Chen did not speak. Bai Yang looked at Jiang Wu and said sincerely, Jiang Wu, can you give us some fish meat? Just a little bit is enough. Yuman has fainted from hunger. Jiang Wu stretched out his hand, whatever. Bai Yang looked grateful, thank you. Several people were busy feeding Na Yuman water and food. Jiang Wu sat in the corner calmly writing on the ground with a branch. The pen strokes were iron-like and silver-like, with style and without losing the fairy spirit. Da Liu pointed the camera at the handwriting on the ground and sighed, it's so well written. How long have you studied? 3 years. Da Liu was very surprised. He could write to this level in 3 years. It was absolutely a talent. Is this a poem or a lyric? Lyric. Jiang Wu lowered his eyes and finished writing bit by bit. Na Yuman woke up and came over to thank Jiang Wu. Jiang Wu didn't have much expression, but Na Yuman was in a good mood. In the afternoon, Wu Jiao and others took the climbing rope to the northwest cliff to get the second token. Considering that Na Yuman fainted from hunger before, they left her in the camp. Jiang Wu looked at the clouds on the sea boredly, and suddenly Na Yuman came over. Thank you for the fish just now. Thank you. Don't I want to thank you again? Na Yuman tilted her head and smiled at him. It must be said that this smile is indeed very healing on the deserted island, but it's a pity that Jiang Wu couldn't appreciate it and didn't even look at her. Na Yuman has been smooth since her debut, but she has been ignored by Jiang Wu many times in this program. Although she thinks that Guan Qi is the reason for the trouble, she thinks that Jiang Wu treats her differently from others. Their half-fish just now is the evidence. Brother Wu is a nice guy, but he is a little impatient sometimes. It's not your fault what happened before, so you are right to be angry. She paused, and seeing that Jiang Wu didn't react, she whispered, in fact, I am the real burden. I am not smart, and I have no strength. But I really don't have the energy to find food. I don't exercise regularly like Guan Qi, but she still said that to me. She was already crying as she spoke, but Jiang Wu still didn't respond. She couldn't help it and directly said her purpose, Jiang Wu, I really can't stay in this team anymore. Can I go to your team? Chapter 13 Rain. Cannot. R. Jiang Wu refused so bluntly that Na Yuman didn't even have time to react, so Jiang Wu said again, I said no. Na Yuman forced a smile and said, Why? Are you still angry about what happened before? But that was what Brother Wu said, it has nothing to do with me, or is it because of what Guan Qi said? Jiang Wu didn't say anything, looking as if he didn't want to pay attention to her. Na Yuman bit her lip, tears falling down, do you have any misunderstandings about me? Jiang Wu was a little annoyed by her crying, frowned and asked, can I go back and cry? Na Yumeng's face turned pale, he bit his lip and glared at him fiercely, then turned back to his corner. When Wu Jiao and others came back, they saw Na Yumeng crying softly, and hurriedly stepped forward to ask if she was feeling unwell. Na Yumeng cried and said that it was nothing, and glanced at Jiang Wu opposite her as if inadvertently. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that something was wrong. After several inquiries from Wu Jiao and Guanqi, Na Yumeng said in a tearful voice, "It's my fault. I wanted to go over and thank him, and by the way, I wanted to think about whether we could resolve the previous conflict and let him return to the team, but..." She bit her lip and didn't say anything else, but everyone could already imagine Jiang Wu's condescending and cold expression, and felt that he must have said something unpleasant. Wu Jiao said with a sullen face, "Forget about coming back. Do you really think we can't ask him for help?" The others didn't say anything, but they meant the same thing. After all, Na Yumeng had taken the initiative to ask for peace, but Jiang Wu still had such an arrogant attitude. It would be too shameful for them to get close to him again. The atmosphere in the camp, which had been eased by half a fish, became tense again. After the team that took back the second token exchanged it for food, Wu Jiao took one of the tokens and returned it to Jiang Wu, saying that it would offset the half fish, and then left. The director team was also very puzzled. They only knew that Na Yumeng went to talk to Jiang Wu, but the microphones of both of them were taken back for debugging at that time, so they didn't know what they talked about. But from what Na Yumeng said to Wu Jiao and others, it was probably that Jiang Wu said some cold words again, which made Na Yumeng cry. This led to the other members of the team being completely disappointed in Jiang Wu and directly isolated him. Yang Chen couldn't help but have a headache. This Jiang Wu was too stubborn. He even scolded a girl to tears. Wouldn't this stalemate last for the entire episode? Jiang Wu rarely talked to them, so he naturally didn't care about their isolation. When night fell and the others were chatting around the fire, he stood alone on the beach. The sea breeze blew up his clothes, outlining his thin figure, and he looked very lonely. Photographer Liu opened the topic. "Actually, you guys got along pretty well at noon. Have you ever thought about having a good talk with your teammates?" "That's not necessary." "Why not?" "Because life is short and everyone has to die in the end." This was the first time that Liu Gan, a photographer, encountered such a tough opponent in all his years. "Aren't you afraid of being scolded after the show airs?" Jiang Wu suddenly looked towards the camera and frowned. "Will my salary be deducted?" "Won't." "That's fine." Liu cleverly changed the subject. "Are you looking at the scenery?" This time Jiang Wu did not reply to him. Instead, he looked up at the stars above his head. The slightly salty sea breeze blew up his overly long bangs, revealing his smooth forehead. His delicate face with clear contours was slightly tilted, and his eyes reflected a mysterious amber color in the sunlight. He looked very cold and mysterious. Jiang Wu said, "The tide is coming in." Liu was stunned. Notify the film crew to move the campsite to higher ground as soon as possible." While he was talking, Jiang Wu had already turned around and walked back, and Da Liu hurriedly followed him carrying the machine. "High tide. Are you sure?" The guests and directors gathered at the camp, and they didn't quite believe Jiang Wu when he said the tide would rise. "How do you know the tide will come in?" "I can see that," Jiang Wu said. "You figured it out." Wu Jiao sneered. "Why didn't you say you figured it out?" Bai Yang agreed. "It's a bit of a joke indeed. Changing camps is very troublesome, and the production crew has to reset up their equipment." Guanqi looked at Director Yang, who shook his head. "We have surveyed this island before, and the highest high tide point over the years will not exceed your camp. Since the director has said so, let's not move for now. I have a mission early tomorrow morning and I must get enough sleep, otherwise I won't be able to hold on." Everyone means the same thing. After all, even though it's a survival show on a deserted island, it's also a variety show. If something really happens to someone, the production crew will go to jail. Jiang Wu saw that they had all left, and turned to look at Director Yang. "These equipments are very expensive, right?" Director Yang was helpless. "Yes." He left after he finished speaking. Director Yang was actually disturbed by his words. After thinking about it, he instructed the staff to move the machines to the low slope at the back after shutting down. He only left a few light machines. At worst, they could move them back early tomorrow morning. In the middle of the night, Wu Jiao suddenly heard a loud shout. He opened his eyes in a daze and was immediately frightened by the scene in front of him and broke out in a sweat. The previously dry beach had been completely submerged by the sea. His sleeping bag had been submerged up to his neck. The people around him had been knocked around by the sea. Ji Ruoxuan and Bai Yang had been washed out by the sea and were desperately dragged back by the program crew. Wu Jiao's scalp tingled. He crawled out of the sleeping bag as quickly as possible and climbed up the low slope behind him. Everyone, climb up the slope. Quickly. We don't need the stuff anymore. Hurry. Director Yang shouted through a loudspeaker and quickly evacuated everyone to a low slope. The photographers even carried cameras, and the lenses just happened to capture the scene of their sleeping bags being swallowed by the dark sea. The people standing on the low slope stared at this scene in amazement, feeling a chill on their backs. They just almost got swept into the sea like the sleeping bags. No, there's another one. Where's Brother Jiang? Ji Ruoxuan suddenly shouted. Everyone's faces turned pale. Director Yarn also panicked and immediately looked at the crew. Where are the people? Has anyone seen Jiang Wu? No one spoke. Everyone had a trace of fear on their face, and they all looked towards the dark and turbulent sea not far away. Just then, a voice came from above their heads. I'm here. Everyone was startled and looked up. At the top of the tree above their heads, Jiang Wuzhen was standing there looking down at them, the moonlight shining on him. His spotless white sportswear formed a sharp contrast with their disheveled appearance with faces and bodies covered in mud. Wu Jiao cursed with his face covered in mud. Are you sick? You knew the tide was rising but you didn't call us. Instead, you hid in a tree. You are so cold-blooded. Jiang Wu asked back, didn't I warn you? Wu Jiao paused, his anger growing even stronger. What you said is nonsense. How can we believe you? Besides, even if we don't believe you, couldn't you have called us when the tide was rising? These are more than a dozen lives. These words pierced the hearts of the others. They really did not believe Jiang Wu, but Jiang Wu knew that the tide was rising, but he did not call them to get up. He watched them being submerged by the tide. If Wu Jiao had not discovered it, they might have been washed into the sea. Well, let me say a few words. Director Yang held up a small speaker and said, actually, it was Jiang Wuxian who notified the program team about the high tide just now, so we were able to rescue you in time. Wu Jiao's words were instantly choked in his throat, his face turned pale and blue, and everyone else fell silent. After a moment of silence, Bai Yang was about to apologize when Jiang Wu suddenly said, look, I told you that life will pass quickly and you will die if you are not careful, so there is no need to waste time explaining. Everyone. Liu. There's no need to hold a grudge like that. Chapter 14 Naiyuman. Although it was not very polite, Jiang Wu's words eased the awkwardness between him and the guests. Guanqi and others did not apologize again. In the second half of the night, everyone moved their things and moved the camp in silence. The group of people were busy until after 5 in the morning, their bodies were covered with sweat and sea water. Considering that they still had tasks to do after daybreak, the guests changed their clothes and went into the tent to catch up on their sleep. Jiang Wu thanked Yarn Chen and was about to leave when he suddenly saw the staff collecting the recording equipment of the guests. He suddenly said, by the way, Director Yarn, I may act alone sometimes and the photographer may not be able to keep up. Do you have a more convenient portable camera? Director Yarn couldn't help but think of the scene when the tide was high and he somehow ran up the tree. He felt a headache and said, I'll get you a sports camera. Thank you, Director Yarn. After Naiyuman waited for everyone to enter the tent, he came to Jiang Wu's tent alone. Is there something wrong? Jiang Wu asked. I came to apologize to you. She stood in front of the tent and stammered as she apologized, saying that she did not mean to complain to others yesterday. She just felt wronged and couldn't help crying. It was Wu Jiao and Guanqi who were impulsive and she couldn't stop them. Jiang Wu listened to her clearing herself of the responsibility and pushing the blame onto others without saying anything. Seeing that he didn't say anything, Naiyuman felt anxious. It would have been fine if everyone ignored Jiang Wu, but now the tide had risen and Wu Jiao and the others were about to reconcile with Jiang Wu. If they asked her about the time when Jiang Wu scolded her and she cried, the fact that her two sides had different stories would be exposed, and she would be the one to be isolated. In fact, everyone wants you to come back. I said I wanted to join your team because I wanted to slowly persuade you to reconcile with Brother Wu and the others, and then bring you back to the team. But you directly refused, and I couldn't say anything else. Didn't you say that they thought you were useless and excluded you? Na Yuming's expression froze, and he laughed dryly. That's because I was afraid that you still resisted them in your heart, and I wanted to gain your trust first, so I said that. Jiang Wu interrupted her calmly. I know, I need to rest now. Na Yuming bit her lip and walked away with a grim look on her face. After dawn, as soon as the guests woke up, they received the clue cards for the third day from the program team. There was a string of numbers on it, and the director gave them the hint that it was the sun. As long as they successfully solved the puzzle, they could finish the recording ahead of schedule and leave the island. Everyone shared the leftover food from yesterday, and asked Ji Ruoxuan to give a portion to Jiang Wu. At the same time, he tactfully asked Jiang Wu if he had any idea about the third token. Jiang Wu did not hide it and said directly, there was a very tall tree where we fetched water that day. The token was on it, but it was out of reach. Guanqi was surprised and asked, you solved the puzzle? Well, it has something to do with the Bagua directions. Several people were stunned. What kind of efficiency is this? Just looking at the questions and solving them. I remember that tree was about 8 or 9 stories high. There wasn't even a branch at the bottom, and the nails for the climbing rope couldn't be installed on it. I really couldn't get it. Did the director team do it on purpose? Ji Ruoxuan complained. Guanqi frowned and thought for a while, I can try to tie it up with clothes. As they were thinking of a solution, Na Yuming at the side suddenly said, it's too dangerous, what if the token is not there after we climb up? The team members were stunned. Everyone subconsciously believed Jiang Wu, but they also realized that he was no longer on the same team as them. It's not that I don't trust Jiang Wu, but it would be very dangerous if he got the answer wrong, said Na Yuming. Everyone was silent, and looked at Guanqi. Guanqi pursed her lips and said, try it. It should be fine if you are careful. Finally, everyone decided to give it a try. However, they had just finished a night of physical labor and had no strength left, so they planned to find something to eat to fill their stomachs first. Brother Jiang, we found a lot of mushrooms in the woods yesterday. Do you want to go with us? Although Na Yuming had already said that Jiang Wu was unwilling to return to the team, Ji Ruoxuan still tried to ask. Jiang Wu shook his head, no need, you guys go ahead. Na Yuming's heart suddenly sank. Although the others had expected it, they still felt a little uncomfortable. However, just as they were leaving, Jiang Wu behind them suddenly said, it's going to rain. A few people looked at the cloudless sky and the bright sun above their heads and felt that it was a bit unreasonable for it to rain. However, considering the high tide incident last night, they dared not question it anymore and finally put on raincoats. Jiang Wu behind him saw them leaving, so he turned around and entered the jungle from another direction. The director team naturally heard the conversation between the few people. The assistant looked at the big sun above his head and asked suspiciously, is it really going to rain? The sun is so bright. Director Yang had a hint of excitement in his eyes, if this really happens, we will be deified. 2 hours later, the clouds in the sky gradually changed color. They were light gray at first, then became thicker and thicker, gradually covering the entire sky. Fine and dense rain fell, soon becoming as big as beans, crackling on the rocks on the beach. Everyone in the entire program crew looked up at the sky at the same time, watching the sudden heavy rain, and the shock in their eyes could not be calmed for a long time. Yang Chen trembled and said, it's fucking amazing. At the same time, Guanqi and others who were far away in the depths of the forest were picking mushrooms when such a rain came. Everyone stood there in a daze, looking at each other with disbelief on their faces. The raindrops pattered on the raincoat, but Ji Ruoxuan's whispers were clearly heard by them, my god, you are really good at calculating. When the 5-member team came back, they brought back a lot of mushrooms. With Bai Yang's assistance, the mushrooms were naturally safe and non-toxic, and they smelled very fragrant when roasted. Although they didn't say anything, they tacitly asked Ji Ruoxuan to leave a portion for Jiang Wu. This time Jiang Wu did not refuse, and they all breathed a sigh of relief. Ji Ruoxuan was even happier, and sat next to Jiang Wu and started to get close to him. Brother Jiang, how did you know it was going to rain? And the high tide last night was amazing. I can see that. Jiang Wu lowered his head and poked the dying fire in front of him. Ji Ruoxuan seemed to understand and praised, awesome. His honest and straightforward words made everyone in the camp laugh. Bai Yang also took the opportunity to strike up a conversation and asked him if he could really tell fortunes. Jiang Wu paused and said, I guess I can do it. Several people immediately became interested, and Ji Ruoxuan quickly stretched out his palm and asked, then can you calculate it for me? Jiang Wu used a small wooden stick to push his hand away, raised his head and looked at him. I'm very happy. Although I won't achieve great success in the future, I'm in good health. These few words were vague and sounded without substance. Everyone was a little disappointed. Then Guanqi suddenly said, "What about me?" This was the first time that Guanqi spoke to Jiang Wu so calmly, and everyone was a little surprised. Jiang Wu glanced at her and said, "You are from a family of scholars, and you have been blessed for a long time, but you have encountered many setbacks in your marriage and are easily deceived." Guanqi was shocked and looked at him in disbelief. Her parents are both university professors, and her mother is the dean of our department. Bai Yang looked at him in surprise. "How did you know?" Guanqi is quite a Buddhist in the entertainment industry and rarely goes out, so not many people know that her family is an educated family. And only Guanqi herself knows that she has indeed suffered a lot of setbacks in her relationship. She looked at the young man opposite with a complicated expression, quite accurate. As soon as this was said, the others were also eager to make a move. Director Yang Chen, who was not far away, couldn't help but ask, "Do you think I should also ask about my fortune?" Assistant. Everyone gathered around Jiang Wu, but Na Yumeng was the only one who didn't say a word. If you looked closely, you could see that her expression was a little stiff, and she couldn't even maintain her signature sweet smile. At this time, Ji Ruoxuan noticed that she had not spoken, so he said, "Brother Jiang, show it to Yumeng too." Na Yumeng smiled awkwardly, "I don't need it." "Oh, look, Jiang Wu is really accurate." "Really, no need." As the two of them were pushing and shoving each other, Jiang Wu had already raised his head and looked at Na Yumeng. The moment their eyes met, Na Yumeng's heart began to panic as he looked at those clear amber eyes. Jiang Wu looked at her calmly, "If you are not worthy of your position, you will be burdened by it in the end." Na Yumeng's face turned pale instantly. Chapter 15 aired. Jiang Wu's words made the entire camp quiet down. After a moment of awkwardness, everyone immediately tried to smooth things over. However, the atmosphere remained stagnant. Na Yumeng was afraid, but because she was in front of the camera, she bit her lip and looked aggrieved. "Jiang Wu, do you hate me?" Jiang Wu said nothing, just lowered his head and ate, as if he agreed. The next second, tears welled up in Na Yumeng's eyes. The atmosphere that had finally eased was destroyed again. Several people felt exhausted. Wu Jiao had always been dissatisfied with Jiang Wu's style of doing things, so he took the opportunity to speak up. "Jiang Wu, isn't that a bit too much?" Although Na Yumeng is a female idol who has just debuted, she has many fans, but there are also many people who doubt her. The most talked about doubt is her ability. They think that if another member had not gotten into trouble, she would not have been the C position of the team. This time she participated in the variety show to improve her popularity, but Jiang Wu said it in front of the camera. When it is broadcast, there will definitely be many people who will make a fuss about it. "I think Yumeng is a good person. I even tried to get you back to the team privately before. Return to the team." Jiang Wu raised his eyes to glance at Na Yumeng, then looked at Guanqi, Ji Ruoxuan and the others. "Did she tell you that?" As soon as these words came out, those people were all stunned. Guanqi immediately realized something and replied, "Well, she said she wanted to bring you back to the team, but you refused." Jiang Wu raised the corner of his mouth. "She said that you guys excluded her, and she couldn't stay here anymore, so she wanted to join my team, but I refused." Several people's faces changed and they all looked at Na Yumeng. "You're talking nonsense. I didn't say that at all. Why did you say that?" Na Yumeng's tears fell down. "I just wanted to bring you back to the team and ease the relationship between us. Why did you wrongly accuse me like this?" In the past, whenever she cried, everyone would go to comfort her, but this time no one moved. Only Wu Jiao said, "When did she tell you? Did the camera record it?" The recording equipment was taken away for debugging at that time. Na Yumeng was not surprised. She was an idol and was very sensitive to the camera and the microphone. Naturally, she would not make such a mistake, so she specifically said it when she was not in the camera and there was no microphone. Her tears flowed even more fiercely. Just as she was about to cry out for injustice again, she heard Jiang Wu say faintly, "But later I asked Director Yang for a sports camera as a backup." Na Yumeng suddenly remembered something and met Jiang Wu's teasing gaze. "Yes, that time you came to me after the tide went out." Na Yumeng's face froze, with tears still on her face, looking very strange. The director team sent someone to take the sports camera back. Due to the distance, no one could see or hear what was recorded in it. The director team did not announce it in the end, and Na Yumeng's face turned completely gloomy. After seeing this scene, the others didn't know who was real and who was fake, and they were silent for a while. The one with the ugliest expression was Wu Jiao. He was standing up for Na Yumeng in the last second, but was slapped in the face in the next second. It was really embarrassing. No one had expected things to develop to this point. The atmosphere in the small team of 5 was dead silent, and no one spoke to Na Yumeng the entire afternoon. She sat alone in the corner, with her head down, and no one knew what she was thinking. Only Jiang Wu was in a good mood. He looked towards the coast with a slight smile on his face. The atmosphere between the two teams was so different that the photographer couldn't help but ask, "Are you in a good mood?" "Yeah." Jiang Wu narrowed his eyes slightly. "We will see a very clear sunset tonight." Not only the director team heard this, but Guanqi and others nearby also heard it and were all stunned. Everyone thought that Jiang Wu was happy because Na Yumeng's true identity was revealed, but in fact he was just happy because he could see the sunset. He didn't care about anything else at all. The key point was that he seemed to be like this since the first day he arrived on the island. He felt quite complicated. The same question subconsciously emerged in everyone's mind: how could such a person be scolded for so long? Just as Jiang Wushu said, the clouds on the sea in the evening were very thin, and the drunken red sunset was like poured cinnabar paint, dyeing the entire sky across the horizon red, which was breathtakingly beautiful. Everyone watched this scene quietly, marveling at the magic of the creator of nature. The wind rises, the clouds surge, the water accumulates, the rain falls, everything has its cause. If you see the cause, you will know the effect. This is the law of nature. Jiang Wu's calm voice brushed past everyone's ears like a breeze at the seaside. Everyone looked over at the same time and saw his profile being blown by the sea breeze, quiet and calm. Ji Ruoxuan couldn't help but sigh. "I always feel that Brother Jiang has an inexplicable divinity." As soon as he finished speaking, his stomach growled. He blushed and lamented, "I am indeed a mortal who is about to starve to death." Everyone laughed and felt unexpectedly relaxed, but their bodies were really tired. "Anyway, it's the last day, so let's just enjoy the island scenery. After all, I think this is the only chance in this life, so let's be a little hungry," Wu Jiao said helplessly. Guanqi took out some wild fruits and shared them among the people. Ji Ruoxuan started to act coquettishly to the director, saying that it was the last day and asked if he could give her a benefit and send her a meal, but was rejected with a smile. "You have the ability to put the keepsake somewhere easy to get. It's so high that even a climbing rope can't reach it. Do you want us to take a helicopter to get it?" Yang Chen smiled and said, "Of course there is a way to get it, but the method is rather secretive. You can think about it carefully." Jiang Wu suddenly asked calmly, "Is it a bird?" Yang Chen was not surprised at all. "You really do know?" Jiang Wu Hui replied, "You said as soon as we got to the island that humans and nature should live in harmony and help each other. This is the solution." The others were confused. "What do you mean?" "I don't understand either." Bai Yang suddenly thought of something: those birds with phoenix feathers on their heads. Ji Ruoxuan still didn't understand. What's wrong with the bird? Aren't they protected animals and can't be eaten? What else can they do? As soon as he finished speaking, a sea breeze suddenly blew up, lifting everyone's clothes. Jiang Wu's hair was blown up, revealing a pair of deep eyes. He looked at the sky calmly. "Here it comes." "Coming? What's coming?" The next moment, everyone saw an incredible scene. Suddenly, a group of black-crowned phoenix birds flew out from above the jungle. They swooped down with their silver-gray wings flapping, and the phoenix feathers on their heads fluttered in the wind, just like real phoenixes. Then, in full view of everyone, they handed 2 small sachets to Jiang Wu. Everyone was stunned, including the director team. They thought Jiang Wu would be the only one to get the 3rd token, but they didn't expect it to be in this way. Ji Ruoxuan looked dazed. "Oh my god, am I hallucinating because of hunger?" At this time, Yang Chen finally revealed the answer. In fact, the big tree where the token was placed is the habitat of this group of black-crowned phoenix-feathered birds. This is a very gentle bird and one of the few birds that interact with humans. If you continue to feed them, you may receive their thank you gifts, such as a small sachet that reflects sunlight. Several people were dumbfounded after hearing this. Ji Ruoxuan couldn't help but complain, "What kind of outrageous setting is this?" Bai Yang looked at Jiang Wu with a sigh, "So that's why you feed the birds with food. When did you know that?" "On the first day when I went to get water." Ji Ruoxuan, who went to fetch water with him at that time, was speechless. "Am I the only one who is stupid?" "It's not that you are stupid, it's that he is too smart." Bai Yang was in a complicated mood. He thought he would be the think tank of this program, but ended up being taught a lesson by Jiang Wu. The third token was successfully found, and the director team specially prepared a sumptuous seafood dinner. They were very generous, and several people finally had a full meal while looking at the bright moon on the sea. Chapter 16: Visiting the Sick. After the recording of an episode of Exploration Travel was completed, except for Wu Jiao and Nai Yuman, everyone else asked for Jiang Wu's WeChat. Ji Ruoxuan even specially created a group of 4 people and named it Jiang Ji's Believers. Guanqi was speechless about the name of the group, but he didn't have any good ideas. In the end, Bai Yang changed it to Desert Island Survivors Group, which is very appropriate. After the recording was finished, director Yang Chen also added Jiang Wu on WeChat and directly invited him to record the second episode. Jiang Wu did not rush to agree, but came back to ask Zhang Xiaoyu. Zhang Xiaoyu meant to wait until the first episode was broadcast to see the audience's response before considering it. Jiang Wu must not be scolded for staying on the variety show again, so Jiang Wu did not rush to give an accurate answer. Yang Chen obviously guessed his concerns, so he worked overtime to edit the first trailer. The trailer begins with the vast ocean, clear sky, and mysterious primitive islands, but the next second there are conflicts and quarrels between Wu Jiao, Nai Yumeng and others and Jiang Wu proposes to split up the team. The camera turned and dark clouds gathered, heavy rain poured down, and the tide submerged the camp and sleeping bags. The guests fled in all directions, and everyone was horrified to find that Jiang Wu was missing. Although everyone knows that Xingmang video is maliciously edited, they still can't help but want to know what Jiang Wu did to cause public outrage, and whether Jiang Wu is okay. 3 days later, the first deserted island episode of Journey into the Unknown was broadcast on Xingmang video. A large number of viewers who were ready to criticize Jiang Wu as a weird idiot specially subscribed to membership to watch it, with their keyboards ready in their hands. However, they were dumbfounded by the result. Is this the incompetent Jiang Wu who knows nothing? He found the water vine on the deserted island and solved the water problem in half an hour. He solved the puzzle by himself and found the token first. He caught fish with his bare hands and started a fire in the wild. Did they predict the high tide and rain? What's even more outrageous is what happened at the end. A bird delivered a token. Is this a normal development of an adventure travel program? The deserted island episode is divided into 2 episodes, and the program team released the 2 episodes in the morning and afternoon with ulterior motives. This caused Jiang Wu to experience a roller coaster ride in online public opinion on the day of the broadcast. First, he was severely scolded and became a hot topic, with comments such as, "Jiang Wu pretends to know, Jiang has no character," and "the variety show cancer returns." With the broadcast of the second episode, Jiang Wu was praised again, and related terms such as, and Jiang Wu instantly dominated the top 7 hot searches. Jiang Wu metaphysics Jiang Wu explore the unknown journey Jiang Wu is the ancient Greek god in charge of wind and rain exploration script Wu Jiao and Nai Yuman crouching dragon and phoenix teamwork Comments section. Zhuangshichu Chuan, I don't believe anything else, but I am really impressed by the bird that sent the token in the end. It is a bird protected by the state and cannot be domesticated by humans. Could it be that Jiang Wu really understands metaphysics? Bubble Girl, I don't usually believe it, but this high tide doesn't seem like an act. If the production team really knew about the high tide in advance but didn't inform the guests, the consequences would be too serious. AAA Steel Wholesale Sister, speaking of those who acted, I want to say that among these people, except Guanqi, none of them have such acting skills. Flying, har. If Wu Jiao had that kind of acting skills, he wouldn't have to act in military movies every day. As for Jiang Wu, I can only say that his new character design this time is outrageous and sour. I'm a local dog and I love watching it. Promising youth, Don't any of you think Jiang Wu is too much? He eats all the food by himself and feeds the birds with the food instead of giving it to others. Chinchilla is the cutest, big brother. Have you finished watching it? Why are you criticizing me? If Jiang Wu feeds the birds, can other people have a hot meal? Can you bring the token over at the end? Moonlight Sky Blue, the scene where he smiled at the camera at the beach was so amazing. All the good names are repeated, and then the next second he caught a fish with his bare hands. Sea and Sky Sand, Jiang Wu, catching fish. Is it difficult? Laughing and crying, laughing and crying. Banging my head against the wall for Zhang Shui. Am I the only one who loves the scene where he stands on the tree? The bright moonlight is like an immortal looking down upon the world. I can't help but imagine Master Kang Yu. Who at Sai, what a pity. If the crew of Qi Qinjiao had let him play Tsang Yue, it would have been very realistic. Although Zhuo Ran is handsome, he just lacks a certain temperament. Yang Saihua, don't even get involved with Cao Bao Jiang. Zhuo Ran was recommended by the screenwriter himself. Ji Ruoxuan's fugitive girlfriend. I'm different from you guys. I like to see him slap himself in the face, especially the part about catching fish and that sentence that everyone has to die anyway. I seem to see the speechless and confused face of the cameraman. It was so funny. Lemon Spirit, Wu Jiao really smells like a dad. Has he always been like this? 7 Little Fishes, Jiang Wu bullied the girl to tears. You guys are really tolerant. I can't stand it anyway, vomit vomit. Pig addicted girl, har har, the one upstairs who has Na Yuming's leg hair, everyone knows what she did. But I heard that Na Yuming left early after the recording of the show, and I don't know if she was guilty. In just 3 days, the popularity of Exploration topped the Star video playback list. Jiang Wu's various metaphysical thoughts on the deserted island and the classic saying people have to die anyway, there's no need, quickly became hot topics, and the number of fans increased by more than 300,000. When Zhang Xiaoyu called over the video, he was grinning from ear to ear. Seeing this, Jiang Wu couldn't help but ask with a smile, so happy. Of course, aren't you happy, Jiang? Yeah, I'm happy. At least I don't have to worry about a year's rent. Hey, let me tell you something even happier. Zhang Xiaoyu smiled so hard that his eyes narrowed into slits. Do you still remember Qi Qinjiao? Remember? I had heard of this drama when Jiang Wugang was reborn. It is said to be a big IP with its own traffic, and the production team is very good, with considerable investment. Director Hu Saiping's famous work is a fairy tale drama, and the heroine is Zhang Shui, a top actress who just won the Best Actress award last year. This drama is recognized as a hit drama. The original character Jiang Wu was tricked by Yu Guanyuan into going to Yang Wenxiong's room because of the casting for the third male lead in the drama. He was drunk and lost his life. The director of this play notified you to audition. Jiang Wu was a little surprised. Hasn't the casting been finalized? Why is there still a 6th male lead? It was originally confirmed, but it seems that there was a problem with the actor over there, so they wanted to temporarily change the actor. Then someone watched Exploration and thought you were a good fit, so they mentioned it on the official Weibo of Prayers for Pride. The director thought it was not bad, so he asked you to give it a try. Although he is male number 6, it is a big production directed by a big director after all, and it is not comparable to the male protagonists of several online dramas, so Zhang Xiaoyu is particularly happy. Jiang Wu nodded in agreement. After reading the information about male number 6 Tsang Yue sent by Zhang Xiaoyu, Jiang Wu understood why he was chosen. The 6th male lead in Pray to Heaven, Kang Yu, is a complete villain, but he has very few scenes. Why? Because he died at the beginning of the show. Although the original work of Qi Qinjiao is a fairy tale, it involves the mystery of immortality, as well as the court and the martial arts world. The main conspiracy throughout the entire drama is the chess game set up by a prince of the previous dynasty named Tsang Yue 100 years ago. It is said that Tsang Yue was born extraordinary. He was able to comprehend the most ancient magic on the continent at the age of 7, and even possessed the ability to predict the future. However, despite this, he could not prevent the destruction of his country. Therefore, after he predicted the destruction of the dynasty at the age of 16, he began a 50-year plan and successfully manipulated everyone in his hands. In the end, it was the male and female protagonists who joined forces to break the game. His IQ can be said to be the ceiling. Although this male number 6 is a villain, he is very popular and is very similar to the image he showed in Exploration Travel. The most important thing is that he has few scenes and is just of ours. No wonder the opponent chose himself, who is known as a disaster in acting. Chapter 17 Bedtime. Jiang Wu was a man who was too lazy to even tell a lie. He had no hope in his acting skills at all. After reading the character information, he went to do other things. When Zhang Xiaoyu came to pick him up 3 days later, he was sitting cross-legged on the ground, trying to calculate Han Zhang's destiny based on his birth date and 8 characters in the encyclopedia, but he couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he tried. In the end, he even used the spells of the Siming clan, but still couldn't figure out anything. This made him doubt his life. Could it be that there was a Taoist priest or sorcerer who was stronger than Han Zhang? It was fine if he could deceive the eyes of a destiny master like him, but he even used the Taoist deduction method, a powerful combination, and it didn't work. Could the other party be a terrestrial immortal who had reached the level of half-ascension? Although he was called an earthly immortal in the Great Zhou dynasty, he had only reached the 8th level of immortal cultivation, Guanxia realm, and was still a little short of the 9th level of earthly immortality. He had only seen one true earthly immortal, and that was his master. It was rumored that the God-favored person who reached the 9th level was the true life controller who controlled the destiny of heaven and earth, and could even change the world, but the punishment from heaven that he had to endure was unimaginable. If there are earthly immortals in this world, why didn't he feel anything? Was it because his soul was too badly damaged? He was struggling for 3 whole days. There were a pile of papers with strange words written on them scattered around him. His hair was messy and he looked very depressed. Zhang Xiaoyu almost fainted when he saw this scene. My dear Jiang, people are eager to get cosmetic surgery 3 days before the audition. If you don't do cosmetic surgery to reshape your body, you should at least adjust your work and rest schedule and take care of your skin. How can you? Zhang Xiaoyu wailed as he helped the man up. He heaved a sigh of relief when he saw his face. Fortunately, it's okay. His face is still okay. His skin is as smooth as a baby's. There are almost no pores. Jiang Wu was urged to wash up and change his clothes, but since he hadn't received an invitation from the crew for a long time, he couldn't even find a decent piece of clothing. Zhang Xiaoyu felt that it was not possible. Although the role of Tsai Yue had few scenes, she was very popular and many people would definitely compete for the role. Although his brother Jiang had a good-looking face and figure, clothes make the man, and he could not lose in this regard. Fortunately, the audition time was scheduled for 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so half an hour later Jiang Wu was taken to the largest shopping mall in the city center to buy clothes. Do we have so much money? Jiang Wu asked as he looked at the prices on the tags of items in the mall. Bite your teeth and buy a shirt. Don't ask for the most expensive one, but the best one. Fortunately, Jiang Wu had good looks and he finally found suitable clothes within his budget, so Zhang Xiaoyu simply let him put them on. I have to say that Zhang Xiaoyu is really good at choosing. It's already September and the temperature is not that hot anymore. He picked a simple, casual, long, light blue and purple taffeta jacket for Jiang Wu, with a white shirt of the same material inside, and casual light pink trousers underneath, with a belt of the same color. This color combination is bright but not glaring, but it needs to be worn by people with very fair skin, otherwise it will easily become a deathly color. Jiang Wu's skin is just the right amount of fair and radiant, with a healthy glow. The soft and slightly shiny fabric makes his overall peaceful temperament seem even more ethereal, and the shop assistants couldn't help but secretly take pictures. Zhang Xiaoyu couldn't help but take a photo, planning to post it on Weibo someday. It was only 11 o'clock after they changed their clothes, so they decided to go out for dinner, study the characters, and then rush to the audition location. As he hadn't taken on a role in a long time and this was a big production, Zhang Xiaoyu seemed particularly cautious. Along the way, he kept reminding him of the etiquette issues he needed to pay attention to and the precautions in the circle, and finally talked about the character. After all, he knew how terrible Jiang Wu's acting was, but he was afraid of undermining his confidence, so he could only praise him and remind him not to try too hard, and if that didn't work, he could just create a concise look and use his appearance to convince the director. He was talking in a babble, but Jiang Wu had actually been distracted after hearing the third sentence. He was looking at the people coming and going on the street. Each person had a variety of luck on them, with different colors, shapes, and trends, all of which indicated their past and the future that was about to happen. He could see it clearly, and could even calculate the different destinies that would occur if he went up to talk to the other person. Although he could not deduce a more complex and detailed trend because of the damage to his soul, he had no problem reading the basic destiny. He could even see the life and death of passers-by. How could he not see Han Zhang's destiny? What was wrong? Just as he was puzzled, Zhang Xiaoyu beside him suddenly said, "Isn't that the driver of Mr. Han from before?" Jiang Wu was now extremely sensitive to the words Han and Zhang, and immediately stopped and asked, "Where is it?" Zhang Xiaoyu pointed behind him and said, "It's the man who just passed by us. I've seen him in Champs-Élysées before." Jiang Wu looked in the direction he pointed. His expression changed slightly. "Is it the middle-aged man in the blue striped suit?" "Right. This is terrible." Jiang Wu said, "I have something to do," and turned around to chase after him. Zhang Xiaoyu followed him with a confused look on his face. "Brother Jiang! Brother Jiang!" Ignoring the shouts behind him, Jiang Wuxin anxiously pushed through the crowd and chased forward. When the driver just passed by him, he accidentally caught a glimpse of the other party's fate. The other party would be in danger of his life within half an hour, and he happened to be Han Zhang's driver. He might be going to pick up Han Zhang at this time, which meant that Han Zhang might also be in danger of his life. He was in a busy business district with a lot of people. The driver had crossed the road just a few seconds earlier than him, and he and a group of passers-by were stopped by a red light on the side of the road. They could only watch the other party walk to the opposite side of the road and get into a black car. The moment the other party came to open the car door, Jiang Wu caught a glimpse of Han Zhang sitting in the back seat. There was no time to catch up, so Jiang Wu simply stopped a car and asked the driver to follow Han Zhang's car. The taxi driver didn't ask any questions and followed with his foot on the accelerator. However, Han Zhang's car in front must have noticed that he was following and quickly started to accelerate. Jiang Wu was soon left behind, with several cars in between. He watched the other car drive away from the auxiliary road from a distance. Jiang Wu regretted not having the nerve to ask Han Zhang for his contact information before. Now at least he could remind the other party. In the black Maybach that had just left the auxiliary road, driver Lu Linher glanced at the rearview mirror and said to the man in the back seat, "Boss Han, we've gotten rid of the person. It might be a bit congested if we go back to the main road directly. Can we take a DT?" "Can." "Okay." The driver turned the steering wheel and continued to turn right, and soon drove to a small road with few cars. Han Zhang, who was sitting in the back row, realized that something was wrong with the shadow outside the window. He looked up and found that there were dense green trees planted on the roadside. His brows knitted together. "Did we take this road before?" Lu Linher was stunned, looked around, and then apologized repeatedly. Sorry, I turned too early at the intersection just now. Sorry, Mr. Han, I will turn back now." Han Zhang glanced at the time. There was still half an hour left before the lunchtime he had agreed to meet with his client, so if he drove faster he should be able to make it in time. "Yeah." He responded lightly. Lu Linher drove to the front and turned left. Logically, he should have slowed down here, but the next moment the car suddenly accelerated, missed the left turn, and drove forward quickly. Han Zhang leaned back suddenly, and before he could ask, he heard Lu Linher in front of him shouting in fear, "Boss Han, the brakes are not working." Han Zhang's face changed. He immediately put down the tablet and reached out to press the button in the corner behind the seat. However, as soon as his hand touched the button, the car slammed into a large truck on the side of the road. The airbags in the front and rear seats popped out in an elliptical shape, and Han Zhang was thrown forward suddenly, with his chest pressed tightly against the airbag. There was silence in the car. Han Zhang calmed his dizzy head, reached out to pull open the airbag, and saw the car engine that had been crashed and the front windshield that had been shattered into a spider web shape. Fortunately, it did not break and fly apart, but Lu Linher in the driver's seat was lying on the airbag, and his life or death was unknown. "Uncle Lu." He called out to the other party, but there was no response. Han Zhang's heart sank. He took out his cell phone and called the emergency number, then sent a message to Yao Ping. Then he unbuckled his seat belt, leaned forward to disable the airbag on the driver's seat, and checked Lu Linher's injuries. However, just as he put his hand on Lu Linher's arm, the man who was lying there as if unconscious suddenly turned around and stabbed him with a dagger. Han Zhongwei's pupils suddenly shrank and he immediately dodged to the side, but the space inside the car was small and the dagger pierced into his left shoulder with a swish, and a strong smell of blood soon spread in the car. Chapter 18 Mail Number 6. Han Zhang groaned in pain, holding the dagger tightly to prevent it from moving forward. At the same time, he looked up at the middle-aged man in front of him with disbelief in his eyes. "Why?" Lu Linher did not answer him, but just stared with his eyes wide open and stabbed the knife downwards desperately, as if to pierce his body. Blood was still flowing from one of his eyes, which was now wide open and looked extremely hideous. Han Zhang grabbed his wrist and twisted it hard, then punched him on the temple. Lu Linhe fainted before he could even make a sound. In addition to the smell of blood, there was also a pungent smell of gasoline in the car. It was obvious that the car's fuel tank was damaged and might explode. Han Zhang didn't dare to delay any longer. He pressed the wound on his left shoulder with one hand and unlocked the car door with the other hand. He got out of the car slowly. Such a simple action caused the blood in his body to flow out of the wound continuously. His eyes went dark and he staggered, but fell on a soft but strong shoulder. He was startled and subconsciously attacked the other person's neck, but his arm was supported. In addition to the smell of blood, there is also a faint, refreshing smell mixed with a bit of the familiar sweetness of mint candy. Wait, mints? He looked up in disbelief and saw a familiar face. Why is it you? Jiang Wu supported his body with difficulty and raised his head slightly. Why can't it be me? Han Zhang was speechless. He really wanted to ask why you were everywhere, but his current physical condition didn't allow him to ask. He could only say, I'm injured, take me to the hospital. Good. Jiang Wu nodded and was about to turn around and call the taxi driver for help, but when he turned around, he saw the taxi driving away at 100 miles per hour. He looked at Han Zhang and said in embarrassment, I don't have a car. Han Zhang really wanted to grab him and ask him how he got into the entertainment industry when he didn't even have a car. What's more, there was a road under construction nearby and it was very remote, so few cars passed by. His eyes flashed again, and he fell directly on Jiang Wu. Jiang Wu took 2 steps back under his pressure. Where is your assistant? Not here yet. Han Zhang whispered in his ear, if we leave this place, the car might explode. Oh. Jiang Wu then avoided the wound on his left shoulder and used his body to support him as he walked to the side with difficulty. 10 minutes later, Jiang Wu helped the man to a nearby green tree and asked, do you want to save the person in the car? No need. Han Zhang said. Although he really wanted to save Lu Linhe's life so that he could find out who wanted to kill him, it was not worth sacrificing another person for this reason. Jiang Wu only looked at his wound at this time. You lost a lot of blood. Yes, are you afraid? He should be very scared. After all, he is just a small star in the entertainment industry. He would be scared to see such a scene, Han Zhang thought vaguely. Let me help you pull out the knife. Han Zhang sat up in shock from his dying illness, opened his eyes suddenly, and looked at the young man in front of him in disbelief. Are you serious? Jiang Wu nodded. You dare. Han Zhang held his hand tightly and warned him with gritted teeth, if you dare to pull it out, you will die. Jiang Wu looked at him, then pulled his hands apart and raised his hand to pull the knife out of his left shoulder. Han Zhang felt a sudden tearing pain in his left shoulder. He looked at Jiang Wu in disbelief, without uttering a single curse word, and then he closed his eyes and fainted. After Jiang Wu pressed the man's acupoints to stop the bleeding, he realized that the man had fainted, so he simply pressed the wound that was bleeding. With his other hand, he took out 2 mints from his pocket, bit open the packaging with his teeth, and put them in his mouth and chewed them to pieces to prevent him from falling asleep halfway. The white palm soaked in blood gradually emitted a golden red light, and the blood flowing under the palm gradually decreased. At this time, if someone tore off Han Zhang's clothes, they would find that the wound on his left shoulder, which almost penetrated below the collarbone, was healing rapidly from the depths at a speed visible to the naked eye, and it was more than half healed in a short time. A thin layer of sweat had already appeared on Jiang Wu's forehead, his face turned pale, his eyes began to lose focus, and finally he fell on Han Zhang with a bang. Han Zhang in coma. In the top-floor ward of Hualing Hospital. When Han Zhang woke up again and saw Yao Ping in front of him, he was still a little unresponsive. Where's Jiang Wu? He said he had something urgent to do and has left. Urgent matter? Maybe he was afraid of causing trouble for him. Do you want to see him? Check for me if he and Lu Linhe are in the same group. Yao Ping was stunned. Didn't he save you? Han Zhongxin said, have you ever seen anyone draw a knife to save someone? He was lucky to be alive. If he were caught, he would never let that guy go. He propped himself up and slowly sat up, but found that the wound was not as painful as he thought, and asked, how long have I slept? About 4 hours. Yao Ping said with lingering fear. The doctor said that fortunately the wound was not deep, otherwise it would be troublesome if it pierced the lungs obliquely. The wound is not deep. Han Zhang was slightly stunned. He remembered that the knife had penetrated about 7 or 8 centimeters and was probably blocked by his collarbone. Otherwise, it might have pierced his lungs diagonally. How deep is the wound? About 4 centimeters. Yao Ping added, but the doctor said that the amount of bleeding was too large, so you were in a coma for so long. Han Zhang paused, wondering if he had a wrong perception due to excessive blood loss. Suddenly, his eyes swept across a blood-stained blue-purple jacket in the corner. It was covered with bloodstains, and the back was soaked with blood. That was Mr. Jiang's clothes. When the ambulance arrived, he was lying on top of you. There was too much blood on his body. The hospital couldn't tell whether it was his blood or yours, so they checked him. Then he was in a hurry to leave and left his clothes behind. Han Zhang looked at the blood-stained clothes, and the scene of Jiang Wu struggling to move forward emerged in his mind. Is he hurt? No, he just fainted due to exhaustion. He woke up half an hour before you woke up. Where's Lu Linher? He climbed out before the car caught fire, but he was also seriously injured and is still unconscious. Yao Ping asked hesitantly, the person who stabbed you. It's Lu Helen. Han Zhang lifted the quilt and got out of bed. Go check who he has been in contact with in the past 6 months, and whether there are any large amounts of money flowing into his bank account or his relatives' bank accounts. Yes. Yao Ping was about to leave when he heard someone behind him say, check Jiang Wu's as well. Yao Ping was stunned, turned his head and asked, do you suspect Mr. Jiang? There's road construction going on nearby that road, so few people go there. Check his schedule for that day. There is also the Golden Land Hotel, the Champs-Élysées Villa. 3 consecutive coincidences made him doubt. But didn't he risk his life to save you? Lu Linher also saved me. Yao Ping was stunned, looking at Han Zhang's expressionless profile, and suddenly realized that Lu Linher had been working for the Lu family since President Han's father's generation, and President Han had always called him Uncle Lu, who was like a relative. Yes. Chapter 19, Late. After leaving the hospital, Jiang Wu took a taxi straight to Kanyang Film and Television. When he arrived, Zhang Xiaoyu was waiting for him at the company gate. When he saw him in a dishevel, he completely collapsed. My brother, what on earth have you been doing? It's been an hour past the agreed time, and director who has already finished the interview. No, why is there blood on your clothes? Sorry, something unexpected happened. Jiang Wu didn't explain what he had done, and asked directly, where's director who? In the lounge. The two of them took the elevator and went straight to the 3rd floor. Many people were attracted by Jiang Wu's embarrassed appearance. The door of the lounge was open. Many people were sitting inside, discussing something with their heads down. In the corner, a middle-aged man with a beard and wearing a military green vest was watering their half-dried kumquats with a small kettle. Jiang Wu went forward and knocked on the door, then said to the people inside, hello, who is director who? The bearded man in the corner looked up at him and asked, what's the matter? I'm Jiang Wu, and I'm here to interview Kang Yu today. The interview is over. You're late. I'm sorry for not keeping my promise, but it happened so suddenly that I think I have to give you an explanation. I also hope to get another chance. Hu Saiping glanced at the blood on his collar and the dirt on his trouser legs and continued watering. The most important thing in the entertainment industry is luck. No one around reacted, as if they were used to it. Zhang Xiaoyu sighed and turned to go out, only to find Jiang Wu still standing there. Brother Jiang. Jiang Wu's eyes fell on the pot of kumquats in front of him. If I can prove that I have luck, would director Hu be willing to give me a chance? Hu Saiping glanced at him, not knowing what he wanted to say. I think that kumquat will fall down, does director Hu believe it? Hu Saiping glanced at the only half-ripe kumquat on the potted tree and asked, are you kidding me? Jiang Wu asked, does director Hu want to give it a try? Hu Saiping ignored him and said directly to his assistant, let him go. The assistant responded and went forward to chase the man away. As he was walking around Hu Saiping, the decorative elastic band on his clothes happened to get hooked on a half-ripe kumquat. Hu Saiping's eyes widened, don't. Before the word move was uttered, the only little kumquat was completely strangled by the elastic band. It fell to the ground, bounced weakly twice, and then rolled all the way to the door. Jiang Wu picked up the kumquat and looked at director Hu. Hu Saiping stared at him for a long while with a dark face, then turned to look at the assistant, who shrank his neck with fear. Hu Saiping shoved the kettle into his hands and walked toward the door. As he passed by the door, he said, "Follow me." Jiang Wu nodded to the young assistant, turned around and followed. The lounge behind him was suddenly filled with giggles and the assistants wailing. Hu Saiping was also efficient. He took Jiang Wu directly to the dressing room and had someone take him to change clothes. While waiting for Jiang Wu to change his clothes, Director Hu asked Zhang Xiaoyu beside him, "Are you his agent?" "Assistant and agent." Zhang Xiaoyu replied cautiously. "What kind of dramas has he acted in before?" "Online dramas are mostly about current idols." Zhang Xiaoyu was embarrassed to mention the title of the drama, fearing that the other party would search for it on a whim and see his awkward acting as Brother Jiang, who had a paralyzed face for many years. However, Hu Saiping did not continue to ask questions. He asked someone to bring him a few drinks and then started chatting with the people around him. About an hour later, the door of the small room behind him was pushed open. The moment Hu Saiping turned his head, his originally careless eyes suddenly lit up. The Jiang Wu in front of him was wearing a very simple black brocade robe, with no decoration except for the gold embroidery on the collar and belt. However, it looked luxurious on him. And this luxury was not the vanity created by power and profit, but the solitude that enjoyed the worship and faith of all the people in the world. The villain's temperament of obsession with power, which should have been revealed, now has a bit of ethereal air under Jiang Wujuan's handsome and indifferent expression. Coupled with his ground-length silver hair, he instantly completes the master Zhang Yue in the original work, who knows everything and controls the fate of everyone. The Jiang Wu in front of him was different from the Zhang Yue played by others before. The Zhang Yue played by others was sinister, cold, and had contempt for all human life. He was high and mighty, a standard villain. Jiang Wu's Kang Yu had no hostility or murderous intent, and was as gentle as the god on the shrine that mortals would kneel down and pray to. But if you look closely, there is no sadness or joy, no pity in the god's eyes, only a faint melancholy look that sees through everything. The entire dressing room was silent for a moment, and someone whispered, "Fuck." As a director, Hu Saiping could naturally see the difference in Jiang Wu's interpretation of the role, and asked, "Tell me about your understanding of Kang Yu." For a person who can control the fate of all people, everything in the world is predictable, all unknowns are known, and nothing can arouse his interest anymore. He paused, then raised his phoenix-like eyes to look at Hu Saiping. Besides the variables in the predetermined fate, it's like a small ant that managed to survive a rainstorm. It makes people want to see how far it can go. Jiang Wu said he was calm, but he was actually unsure. He was not good at acting, but after reading the information given by Zhang Xiaoyu, he found that this role was somewhat similar to himself as a destiny master, so he substituted his own knowledge and understanding into the role, not knowing whether it met the other party's requirements. Hu Saiping stared at him without saying anything, but he was very surprised. Although everyone thinks that the character Zhang Yue is just a background board in the whole drama, and even because of his superb appearance and aura, he is nicknamed a background vase by netizens, but Hu Saiping actually does not think so. Zhang Yue is very important, even the soul that runs through the entire play. Unfortunately, there are very few people in the entertainment industry who are suitable for Zhang Yue. He spent a long time choosing someone who is similar, at least in line with the public's impression of Zhang Yue as an unruly and sinister person. But something went wrong with the other person, so he had to choose someone else. He knew very little about Jiang Wu, and it was only after a fan mentioned him in the comments section that he went to look up the dramas he had acted in, and all he could see was that they were horrible and a mess. But later he went to watch his performance in Exploration Journey and had to say it was quite amazing, and he even looked like a completely different person from the characters in those bad dramas, so he contacted his agent and asked him to come for an audition. However, he actually didn't have much hope for Jiang Wu, because even if his appearance met the criteria, his inner qualities would definitely not be up to par. Fortunately, he had prepared himself mentally beforehand, so Zhang Yue didn't have many roles. However, at this moment he had a new idea. Seeing that he remained silent, Zhang Xiaoyu felt uneasy. Although he and others found it amazing, who knew the standards of a great director. Hu Saiping smiled and said, "It seems that I made a wrong judgment. Zhang Yue doesn't have to be a vase anymore." Jiang Wu looked at him suspiciously. "Huh? I mean, you were accepted." Although there were some surprises, the result was still pretty good. And because the progress was tight, Hu Saiping directly asked Jiang Wu to put on full makeup and took the final makeup photos at the same time. After taking the final photos, Jiang Wu removed her makeup and went to the lounge to meet Director Hu, when she suddenly heard an argument coming from inside. I'm already coordinating with them, Director Hu, you can't change the cast at this time. Hasn't it been officially announced? I told you in advance that my actors are not allowed to overlap with other actors. You are the one who breached the contract first. But Kang Yu doesn't have many scenes to begin with, do I have to stay in the group forever? You are not a professional actor. What is affected more by filming multiple roles is your state, not your time. Don't you understand? Director. Okay, you don't have to say anything. I have reselected the actors. You can leave now. Someone whispered something inside, but Jiang Wu didn't hear it clearly. Suddenly, the door of the lounge was opened from the inside, and a tall and handsome young man walked out and almost bumped into him. Jiang Wu was about to make way when he saw the other party asked in shock, Jiang Wu. Jiang Wu paused, who are you? The young man mocked, why, you've been in so many variety shows that you don't recognize your old friends anymore. Zhang Xiaoyu whispered behind him, he is Zuoran, a former member of Hong. Chapter 20 Zuoran. Left burning? Jiang Wu has heard this name many times since his rebirth, especially in the comments section of Weibo, where almost all those who scold him use this name. Are we familiar with each other? You? Just as he was about to speak, Hu Saiping pushed open the door of the lounge and looked at Jiang Wu, have you finished taking the final photos? Jiang Wu nodded, yeah. Zuoran listened to the conversation between the two and had an absurd guess in his mind, Director Hu, you are not going to let him play Kang Yu, are you? Hu Saiping nodded, yes, he has passed the audition. Are you kidding me? Zuoran sneered with a ridiculous look on his face, have you ever seen his plays? He has a paralyzed face, what can he act like? Hu Saiping glanced at him and said, that's better than having a disobedient expressionless face. Zhang Xiaoyu burst out laughing. Zuoran's face turned pale and blue. His agent pulled his sleeve and whispered to him to leave. Zuoran impatiently shook her hand off, glared at Jiang Wu, and left. Jiang Wu looked at the female agent's back as she hurriedly caught up, and raised his eyebrows. Hu Saiping's voice sounded behind him, is there a feud? Jiang Wu replied expressionlessly, I don't even remember what he looked like before today. Hu Saiping stared at him for 2 seconds and laughed, come in, I have something to tell you. Zuoran left the lounge in a huff, still feeling unwilling, old man, you have no vision. You actually asked Jiang Wu to act in this drama. I think this drama will definitely fail. Keep your voice down. Don't let anyone hear you. The female agent next to him frowned and said. So what if I heard it? Although he said so, he did not continue. Instead, he suppressed his anger and asked, didn't you say that there was no qualified person in today's batch? How come Jiang Wu suddenly appeared? I asked him about it. He was late for the audition today. Director Hu didn't plan to use him, but I don't know why he agreed later. It might be because of his connections. I heard that someone was secretly pushing the stars incident before. Zuoran looked unhappy. When he and Jiang Wu participated in the talent show, Jiang Wu was more popular than him. Later, he finally found a way to step on him, but now he would never let him climb over his head. He pondered for a moment with a dark face, then opened Weibo and edited a text. Zuoran Ricky, although I know that I can only encounter 1 or 2 opportunities after trying 100 times, I should at least lose honorably. Sad. A group of fans soon flooded the comment section to ask what happened. Zuoran replied that it was nothing, he just encountered some setbacks and was in a bad mood. No matter how many questions the fans asked, he did not reply. Go find a few trumpets and spread the news that Jiang Wu was late for the audition. The agent hesitated, what if the person behind him? Zuoran said impatiently, who could be behind him? If he had someone, would I have played with him like a dog? Just do it. Do you hear me? I heard it. It was already 9 o'clock in the evening when Jiang Wu came out of Kanyang Film and Television. It was completely dark. He asked Zhang Xiaoyu to go back first, and he took a taxi directly to Hualing Hospital. It was almost 10 o'clock when they arrived at the hospital. Visitors were no longer allowed in the ward, and visiting patients in the top floor ward required the patient's permission. However, Jiang Wulian did not have Han Zhang's contact information, so he had to leave. It was dark outside. Jiang Wu looked up at the top floor of the hospital building. The lights were still on. Han Zhang must have not slept. He didn't know how his injuries were. He fainted in the middle of the treatment, and he was in a hurry when he left. He didn't have time to confirm how much his wounds had healed. On the top floor of the ward, Han Zhang was sitting on the bed in grey pajamas, with the collar slightly open on his left shoulder, revealing a small piece of white gauze. His hair, which was usually combed up, now casually fell in front of his forehead, making his stern face look a little gentler. There was a notebook on the bed, containing all the information about Jiang Wu for the past 25 years, including his high school dropout, poverty, serious illness of his mother, imprisonment of his father, introverted and weak personality, and poor athletic ability, as well as his recent hot search terms on the internet. The ancient Greek god who controls wind and rain. Han Zhang sneered, playing tricks. Yao Ping on the side did not dare to say anything, but he knew that his boss hated anything mysterious and spooky, and Mr. Jiang had walked into trouble. It turned out that Jiang Wu's life in the previous 25 years was extremely dull except for the incident of jumping off the building some time ago. Han Chong looked at it for a while and did not find anything wrong, so he put the notebook aside and asked about the investigation of the car accident. The police said that there was nothing wrong with the truck driver. He stopped the truck because he needed to go to the toilet that day. There was nothing unusual with his accounts and interpersonal relationships. Where's Lu Linhe? There is no problem with the source of income, and the interpersonal relationship has not changed. The police are making slow progress, and they said that they may have to wait until Lu Linhe wakes up to find out why he wanted to assassinate you. Han Zhang was silent for a moment, then said, "Don't let my parents know about this for now." "Yes. Go and have some rest." Yao Ping nodded, turned and left. The ward became quiet. Han Zhang looked at Lu Linhe's biography and fell into deep thought. At this time, a breeze blew the curtains by the window, and the sky blue curtains swayed slightly. Han Zhang frowned slightly, tilted his head to look at the half-drawn curtains by the window, his eyes becoming colder. "Come out." Han Zhang reached for the fruit knife on the bedside table and slowly got off the bed. "I'm saying this for the last time, come out." There was still no movement in the room. Han Zhang walked to the curtain holding a fruit knife and pulled it open. All the muscles in his body were tense and the knife in his hand was raised. However, when he saw the person behind the curtain, his expression relaxed. "Why are you here? Come and see your injury." Jiang Wu leaned against the window and looked at him calmly. Han Zhang frowned. "How did you get in so late?" Jiang Wu pointed to the wide open window behind him. Han Zhang's pupils trembled slightly, he tilted his head to look down, then looked at the innocent-looking young man in front of him. "This is the fucking 16th floor. You climbed up like this?" Han Zhang was speechless, and this kind of speechlessness has appeared frequently recently, from the first time they met at the Golden Land Hotel, to the Champs-Élysées villa, to the car accident scene in the morning and the hospital at this moment. The little star in front of him made him feel speechless and confused. Seeing that he didn't speak, Jiang Wu took the initiative to ask, "How is your wound? You've recovered quite well." When Han Zhang mentioned this, he immediately remembered the scene where someone drew his sword without hesitation, his eyes slightly cold. "If you hadn't helped." Jiang Wu frowned. "I saved you." Indeed, if he hadn't helped him away from the car accident scene, he might have died, so he nodded and asked, "So how do you want me to thank you? Do you want money, resources, or both? Add me on WeChat." Chapter 21 Visiting the Sick. Han Zhang looked at the young man in front of him who started to take out his phone. "What did you say?" Jiang Wu opened the WeChat QR code and handed it over. "Add WeChat so that we can get in touch easily." "Well, you're playing the long game, right? That's pretty smart." Han Zhang scanned the QR code and added him as a friend. The other party quickly accepted the request. "Okay, go ahead. I haven't seen your wound yet." Han Zhang frowned. So this man said he came to see his wounds, not to visit him. Did he really mean that he wanted to see his wounds? "No, the doctor said it's healing well and the scab will form in less than a week." He turned and walked towards the bed. There was no sound behind him for a long time. He felt a little uneasy for some reason. Just as he was about to turn around, he suddenly felt a barely noticeable gust of wind behind him. He instinctively dodged to the side and saw Jiang Wu appear behind him. Han Zhang became wary and took a step back. "What are you doing?" Jiang Wu looked at him normally. "I didn't do anything, I just looked at your wound." "Go out." Jiang Wu didn't move at all, looking at Han Zhang dimly. Han Zhang got goosebumps when he looked at him, and his expression turned cold. Since you saved me, get out of here immediately, or don't blame me for being rude. Before he could finish his sentence, Jiang Wu suddenly pounced on him. Jiang Wu. Han Zhang was shocked and realized that he was serious. He immediately ran to the side, but he felt a strong wind behind him. He was startled and turned back in time to block Jiang Wu's knife. However, the wound on his left shoulder was pulled, so that his movement was delayed for a moment. At this moment, Jiang Wu reacted very quickly and grabbed his wrist, and pressed lightly on his elbow. Han Zhang felt his hands go numb, and then he was pressed on the bed. Han Zhang shouted angrily, "Are you crazy?" Jiang Wu said nothing, but restrained his wrists with both hands. The moment he lowered his head to meet Han Zhang's eyes, his amber eyes suddenly turned completely black. He finally figured it out. Han Zhang was as vigilant and cunning as Yang Zhang. If he wanted to achieve his goal, he had to use force. He had to seize the opportunity when the other party was sick. Han Zhang was startled by the strange sight of his eyes suddenly changing color, and was unable to move for a moment. Jiang Wuxin was delighted, but did not dare to waste time. The stronger the willpower, the shorter the trance period. He immediately tried to pull at his collar, but as soon as he touched the collar of his pajamas, a big hand clamped his wrist. The next second, the world spun around, the two people's positions were reversed, and the person pinned on the bed became Jiang Wu. Jiang Wu's eyes widened, he couldn't figure out why his spell was ineffective. Han Zhang, who was pressing on him, still remembered the strange incident just now, and lowered his head to look into his eyes. "What's wrong with your eyes?" Jiang Wu panicked and turned his head away quickly to prevent him from looking into his eyes. "Don't move." Han Zhang shouted softly, pinched his chin and leaned forward to stare at his eyes carefully. He was sure that he had not seen wrongly, because these amber eyes suddenly turned completely black, like a whirlpool in the abyss. Since Jiang Wu refused to cooperate, Han Zhang could only lower his head and get closer to take a look. The two of them were almost completely overlapping, as if they were hugging each other tightly. Jiang Wu smelled a familiar scent on him, exactly the same as Yang Zhang 1,000 years ago. He couldn't tell what kind of smell it was, like the whistling wind in the northwest, like the gold and iron on the armor, and like the precious incense in the imperial city of Xiangju, mixed in the blood and soul, light and strong, instantly reminded him of countless pasts, and finally stopped at the moment when Yang Zhang, with white hair, looked at him on the dragon bed. Those eyes, as dark as the night sky, were still bright, but the once young emperor had now become an old man. His old hands gently held his face, and those black eyes still looked at him, but they were no longer as bright and full of surprise as when they first met on the mountain that year. Instead, they were filled with emotions that he could not understand, which were more complicated than the fate of the world. He didn't know what he was going to tell him, so he took the initiative to ask him what the secret of ascension was. Would he still know it after he died? He remembered that after he asked that question, Yang Zhang seemed to smile, but he looked so sad, and also like he was relieved, which made him full of doubts. Jiang Wu was watching so intently that he forgot to struggle. Han Zhang held his face and studied him for a long while before realizing that they were too close, so close that he could kiss Jiang Wu's lips by lowering his head and could also smell the faint sweet scent of mint candy on his breath. There are also the pair of clear amber eyes in front of him. When you look closely, they look like the most precious gems in the world, pure and clean without a trace of impurities. And at this moment, these eyes are looking at him with great concentration, as if they can only see him in this life. His gaze was too direct, and Han Zhang finally realized that something was wrong. The second half of the sentence was drowned in his throat. Jiang Wu suddenly leaned over and hugged him, pressing his forehead against his. Han Zhang's pupils trembled slightly and he froze there for a moment. The moment Jiang Wu closed his eyes, he concentrated his mind and quickly used his soul to probe the soul barrier of the person in front of him. Just when he was about to touch the soul behind the barrier, the door of the ward was suddenly pushed open. Boss Han, the security guard in the monitoring room, said he saw someone crawling in. Chapter 22. Don't you want to explain what happened last night? Yao Ping looked at the two people hugging each other in bed in astonishment, and said the rest of the words blankly. Your room. Han Zhang. Remember to knock next time. Yes. A minute later, Yao Ping looked at Han Zhang, who was sitting on the chair with a gloomy face, and Jiang Wu, who was sitting obediently on the bed. After organizing his thoughts several times, he asked, Mr. Jiang, are you going to stay overnight? Want. Need not. The two spoke in unison, then looked at each other at the same time. Han Zhang asked with a straight face, isn't there a hotel nearby? Why are you squeezing into a ward? Jiang Wu said confidently, but I came to see you. Didn't you see it? I haven't seen your wound yet. You're not a doctor, why are you looking at the wound? How do you know I'm not a doctor? Are you crazy or am I crazy? Yao Ping watched the two of them talking back and forth, opened his mouth, but in the end said nothing. He walked out of the ward and said to the nurse outside, go buy a 4-piece bedding set and a set of pajamas for adult men, one size fits all. Okay. The two people in the room were arguing with each other when Jiang Wu's stomach suddenly made a gurgling sound. The ward was silent, and Han Zhang asked, didn't you eat? Well, I didn't eat lunch. Han Zhang turned his head to look at Yao Ping. Before he could speak, Assistant Yao, who was about to enter the room, immediately replied, understood. I'll go buy food now. It was almost 11 o'clock in the evening, so it was not suitable to eat greasy food. Yao Ping bought the simplest white porridge with pickles and a few meat buns. Jiang Wu lowered his head and ate seriously without raising his head. It was obvious that he was very hungry. Han Zhang sat opposite him, watching him finish a bowl of porridge quickly and elegantly, and then began to eat a meat bun in small bites, and asked, what were you busy with? You didn't even have time to eat. Nothing, just met someone. Seeing that he casually passed it over, Han Zhang did not ask in detail. After all, to be honest, this was only the third time they had met, and it was not yet time to ask about private matters. When Han Zhang came out of the shower, Jiang Wu had already finished his meal and was sitting on the folding bed that Yao Ping had someone bring over, chatting with someone on his cell phone. When he heard the voice, he looked over. The man was wearing a silver-gray cotton pajamas, with a prominent Adam's apple under his well-defined jawline, a small piece of firm chest muscle slightly exposed on his chest, and the white gauze on his left shoulder vaguely visible. His slightly damp hair was scattered messily on his forehead, half covering his sharp eyebrows, making him look unexpectedly gentle. Jiang Wu stared at him for a while and said nothing. Han Zhang turned slightly and coughed softly, I'm done. Jiang Wu responded, picked up the pajamas that Yao Ping bought for him and went into the bathroom. When he passed by Han Zhang, he smelled a faint scent of grass and trees, which should be the smell of shower gel. As the bathroom door opened with a click, Han Zhang's tense muscles as he sat on the hospital bed relaxed. Jiang Wu took a quick shower and came out in less than 15 minutes. He was wearing a light blue plaid short-sleeved shirt and shorts, revealing glowing white skin. His hair was slightly wet and messy, and the skin at the corners of his eyes was red from moisture. He went straight into his little bed without applying any facial mask or body lotion, which broke Han Zhang's stereotype of male celebrities. The ward was very large, so their beds were a little far apart, about 2 meters. Jiang Wu spoke very little and was very well behaved. After taking a shower, he sat on his bed and played with his cell phone. He was very quiet. Han Zhang was originally handling some official business on his tablet, but his thoughts drifted away as he looked at it. He looked up at the opposite side as if inadvertently and found that Jiang Wu was still chatting and seemed to be in a good mood. He frowned unconsciously, wondering who he was chatting with. They had been chatting for an hour and a half, and he wasn't done yet. Cough. A clear cough was heard in the room. Jiang Wu looked up and saw Han Zhang's face. He tilted his head and asked him what he wanted to say. Han Zhang watched his unconscious movements and twisted the quilt lightly with his fingertips. It's late, I'm going to turn off the lights. Oh, okay. Jiang Wu withdrew from their desert island survivor group, put away his phone and went to sleep. Han Zhang turned off the lights, lay down, and slowly closed his eyes. There was only a dim night light on the wall in the ward. It was dim and hazy, and he could vaguely hear the light breathing coming from the opposite side. Han Zhang had no desire to sleep. It had been many years since he had slept in the same room with someone else, let alone someone he had only met 3 times. Fish swarming. But even though they had only met 3 times, what happened between them was more exciting than if they had met hundreds of times. Han Zhang couldn't help but think of the first time he met Jiang Wu at the Golden Land Hotel. His thoughts gradually drifted away and he gradually felt sleepy. Just as he was about to fall asleep, a very light voice suddenly sounded in his ears, Han Zhang, are you asleep? Han Zhang. Because of some past experiences, he has a very regular schedule and usually goes to bed at 11 o'clock. It is already 12 o'clock now, and there are only 7 hours left until he has to wake up at 7:30 tomorrow. He does not intend to chat. The most important thing is that this kind of midnight chat usually requires heart-to-heart talk. He didn't think he and Jiang Wu had reached the stage where they could have a heart-to-heart talk, so he didn't say anything and deliberately kept his breathing steady to make the other person think that he was already asleep. Sure enough, the person on the other end fell silent and no longer tried to talk to him. Han Zhong breathed a sigh of relief and was about to fall asleep again when he suddenly felt something strange in his chest. He was startled, his muscles tensed, and he suddenly opened his eyes. In the dim light, their eyes met, and Jiang Wu's eyes showed a little surprise. "You didn't sleep. Are you sick?" Han Zhong sat up suddenly, one hand still holding Jiang Wu's hand. Just now, this hand had touched his chest and was even trying to pull off his pajamas. This little pervert. Jiang Wu felt a little pain in his wrist when he grabbed it, and frowned at him. "Of course I'm not sick, you are the one who is sick." "That's right, otherwise why would I agree to let you stay?" Han Zhong sneered. "There is a good hotel near the hospital. I'll let Yao Ping take you there now." He was halfway through his words when Jiang Wu suddenly pressed forward while sitting on his waist. Han Zhong was unable to exert force as he was sitting on his waist, and was caught off guard and pressed onto the pillow. He opened his eyes angrily and was about to speak when Jiang Wu reached out and pressed somewhere on the back of his neck. Han Zhong's expression froze, then he closed his eyes and fell on the pillow. "Sure enough, we have to use force." Jiang Wu muttered something, then gently pulled open Han Zhong's collar. Under the white gauze, the skin covering the beating heart was slightly bulging with strong muscles. Jiang Wu stretched out his hand and covered the skin, a faint golden red light emanating from his fingertips. After a moment, he removed his hand, and a golden red ancient character appeared on the originally flawless skin, like a winding flower or a phoenix with its wings spread, mysterious and wonderful. Jiang Wu raised the corner of his mouth and looked up at the familiar resolute and cold face under the dim light. His eyes carefully traced the familiar eyebrows and eyes, and then he held his cheeks with both hands and gently put his forehead against him. The soul quickly detected a familiar breath, which was the mark he left on Yang Zhong's soul back then. He risked using a Shen-level spell to heal his injuries from the car accident during the day. He thought that he would sleep for 3 to 5 days due to the side effects of the shattered soul, but he woke up after sleeping for less than 4 hours. He guessed at the time that there were fragments of his soul in Han Zhong's body, filling a tiny crack in his soul, so he planned to check it out in the middle of the night. The result was just as he expected. The person in front of him was Yang Chong, who should have been dead for 1,000 years. He had the imprint of his soul left in his body, which remained unchanged even after crossing time and space. But he still couldn't understand why Yang Zhong, who was supposed to be dead, became another person 1,000 years later, and he happened to be reborn 1,000 years later. As Jiang Wu thought about it, he began to feel sleepy. He had been running around all day and was exhausted. He hadn't been so tired in a long time. He soon closed his eyes and fell asleep. When Jiang Wu woke up the next morning, he vaguely heard a low conversation. "I heard he's sick. The third brother Fang Zai is in charge now. This guy has been at odds with you since they were young. Lu Linher is not short of money. If he wants to bribe him, he may need." Jiang Wu opened his eyes in a daze, and saw Han Zhong and Zhu Changming sitting and talking by the window in front. He sat on the bed in a daze, and suddenly found that the bed he was lying on seemed to be Han Zhong's. The memories of last night suddenly flooded into his mind, and Jiang Wuxin thought, oh no, he was so tired last night that he even forgot to crawl back to his bed. Seeing that the two men were not paying attention, he got out of bed quietly, went into the bathroom to wash and change clothes, and then walked out of the ward quietly. "Isn't this Mr. Jiang? Long time no see." Zhu Changming's joking voice came. "Jiang Wu." He slowly turned around and looked at the two people by the window. "Mr. Zhu, long time no see." Zhu Changming waved at him with a smile on his face. "I brought breakfast, come and have some together." Jiang Wu Hui said, "No, I have something else to do." "Han Zhong, come here." Jiang Wu. Jiang Wu pursed his lips, walked to Han Zhong and sat down, took the seafood porridge pushed by Zhu Changming, lowered his head and was about to start eating, when he heard Han Zhong's faint voice, "Don't you want to explain what happened last night?" Jiang Wu paused for a moment, turned around and said seriously, "You know, you sleepwalked last night." Han Zhong. Chapter 23 Makeup Photo. When people are extremely speechless, they will suddenly laugh. So Han Zhong laughed. He looked at the young man in front of him who was talking nonsense seriously and replied, I am asleep, not dead. Jiang Wu said, oh, and just looked at him. Han Zhang looked at him with an expression that said, I did it, if you have the guts, beat me to death. He took a deep breath and said solemnly, I hope this won't happen again next time. God knows how devastated he felt when he opened his eyes in the morning and saw the young man squeezed into his arms. Jiang Wu nodded without hesitation, okay. Anyway, he has already confirmed it, so there is no need to take off his clothes. Zhu Changming on the opposite side watched the interaction between the two with an expression of anticipation. It was the first time for him to see his childhood friend look so deflated, especially with a man he had only known for a short time. He couldn't help but become curious about the relationship between the two. What happened last night? The two people opposite looked over at the same time, their movements and expressions were surprisingly consistent. Han Zhang, it has nothing to do with you. Jiang Wu, it's okay. Zhu Changming shrugged and said, forget it, he will ask Assistant Yao later. Jiang Wu saw that the two people had something to say, but it was not convenient for them to do it in front of him, so he tactfully left after breakfast. Zhu Changming looked at his back and suddenly asked, I heard that he saved you. What a coincidence. Han Zhang didn't say anything. He naturally had the same doubts as Zhu Changming. Yao Ping checked him out and there's nothing wrong with him. Zhu Changming stared at him for a while, then cleverly changed the subject and asked another question, I heard that he climbed up to the 16th floor to see you last night. Han Zhang. Zhu Changming looked at his speechless expression and laughed teasingly, Romeo and Juliet, Lao Han. Shut up. Okay, let's get down to business. Zhu Changming's smile faded a little, Uncle Lu, what are you going to do? Han Zhang lowered his eyes and said, we will do whatever we have to do, but the prerequisite is that he wakes up. Zhu Changming was silent for a moment. Uncle Lu has been in the Han family for more than 10 years and treats you as his son. He must have been threatened by someone. Han Zhang interrupted him lightly, all right, I'm not that fragile. I can bear any betrayal, no matter what the reason is. Do your uncle and aunt know about this? I didn't let anyone tell them. Zhu Changming also guessed that Lu Linher had been in the Han family for 11 years. At first, he drove for Han Zhang's father and later drove for Han Zhang. For a family like the Han family, the position of driver is a matter of life and death and only confidants can take on this position. Lu Linher has never let them down. If it weren't for Lu Linher, Han Zhang might have died in the accident that Han Zhang and his mother had. It can be said that Lu Linher is not only the confidant of the Han family, but also a relative. However, such a person actually caused a car accident in an attempt to kill Han Zhang. Moreover, from Han Zhang's description, he knew that Lu Linher attacked Han Zhang with the intention of dying together with him. This made him even more puzzled. Even if Lu Linher was really bribed, he would not want to die together with him. Otherwise, he would have the life to make money but not the life to spend it. It's very weird. Zhu Changming sighed. Yao Ping had already had Jiang Wu's newly bought blood-stained jacket washed and folded by someone, so Jiang Wu took the jacket back when he returned. When Zhang Xiaoyu saw the jacket, he asked about it, and Jiang Wu told him what happened yesterday. Zhang Xiaoyu opened his mouth wide after hearing this and asked in shock, you said you saved Mr. Han from Hua Yu? Then you are going to take off. Zhang Xiaoyu was very excited. That's the future heir of the Han family. With such connections, won't you be able to walk sideways in Linhai in the future? Jiang Wuxin said that he dared to act arrogantly even though he had no connections, but he was just afraid of breaking the law. You think too much. He really annoys me. That's right. Zhang Xiaoyu calmed down a little. You have offended him before, so at most it can be considered as a balance of merits and demerits. Besides, he is the heir of the Han family, and that class is not something we can climb up to. Jiang Wu couldn't help but frown when he heard him calling him heir. He will be very powerful even without the Han family. Zhang Xiaoyu was stunned, not understanding why he said that. Of course. Jiang Wu was satisfied. He picked up his phone and opened Han Zhang's circle of friends, but found that he could not see anything but a horizontal line. He was a little confused and ran to ask Zhang Xiaoyu. Zhang Xiaoyu said, oh, this means you have been blocked. Jiang Wu. He stared at the horizontal line, stepped out, and blocked Han Zhang from his circle of friends. Zhang Xiaoyu on the other side was unaware of his displeasure. He showed Jiang Wu the finalized makeup photos sent by the art director of the Qinjiao crew and asked him if he had any opinions. Jiang Wu had no objection at all. He didn't even know how to edit a photo. He just took a look and said it was okay. Zhang Xiaoyu had no objection. In his opinion, Jiang Wu's original picture was already perfect, and he quickly responded. Just as Hu Saiping said, the crew was indeed in a hurry. Jiang Wu had just replied when the official Weibo of Qinjiao released everyone's makeup photos the next morning. Among them, Sanyue, played by Jiang Wu, was dressed in a black brocade robe, with silver hair trailing the ground. He looked handsome and indifferent, and directly replaced the male and female protagonists and was placed in the C position of the 9-square grid. I recommend the most beautiful in the universe is the actress who plays Kang Yu, a newcomer. She has some talent, and her temperament is amazing. Wow, she is so beautiful. Tubarji, I give up. I just had a crush on him, and he started acting again. Can you just record your variety shows and act like a charlatan? Why do you have to think about acting? You really don't have any acting skills, kid. Burning like fire? Let me ask you, can all the confirmed actors be replaced at the last minute? Where is Zhuoran? Why is it him? How can such a traitor who bullies others still be in the entertainment industry? My Snow is the most beautiful in the north of the Milky Way. The hero and heroine are not placed in the middle? The villain is placed in the middle? What are you doing, officials? Where is our heroine? Chinchilla is the cutest, speechless, the expressionless vase is acting again. Falling into the Star River, Jiang Wu. That idiot Jiang Wu. Does he look like this? The look he gives when he looks down on everyone is so amazing. Wind-chasing girl, please don't harm my master Kang Yu, okay? If it really doesn't work, you can just let him die at the beginning. He was originally a person who lived in the lines, so let him rest in peace. I want little money, can someone please get this cancer banned? I really don't want to see him anymore. The final makeup photos of Sanyue, played by Jiang Wu, quickly caused a new wave of popularity. Netizens who had previously watched the first episode of Exploration Travel came over after smelling the scent. They were very surprised that Jiang Wu was so suitable for the role and was exactly the Sanyue in their minds. While many people praised Jiang Wu's appearance, many others questioned his acting skills. After all, his acting skills are obvious to all and can be described as a disaster. However, more people think that Kang Yu is just a background board that lives in lines and memories. It's enough to look good. The acting skills required of actors are not high, so this kind of speech was quickly brushed off. However, that afternoon, a marketing account suddenly broke the news that the sixth male actor of Qinjiao acted like a big shot on the day of the audition and made the director wait for several hours, but because of his background, he successfully replaced the male actor named Zed. Chapter 24 Reversal. After this explosive post came out, Zhuoran's fans connected it to the emo Weibo that Zhuoran posted a few days ago, and immediately concluded that it was Jiang Wu. Stole the role from Zhuoran. Fans quickly tagged the official Weibo of Qinjiao and asked them to respond to this matter directly. The official Weibo replied that due to Zhuoran's schedule conflict, they temporarily stopped cooperating. However, fans did not accept this. If it was someone else, it would be fine, but it had to be Jiang Wu. Jiang Wu was the one who bullied their brother in the group and eventually forced their brother to leave the group and go solo. The outraged fans quickly reposted the story of Jiang Wu bullying his teammates in the group and tagged the official Weibo of Qinjiao. They gathered in the comment section of the official Weibo to boycott Jiang Wu, saying that if the crew did not replace Jiang Wu, they would report the Qinjiao crew on the grounds that artists with bad records are not allowed to participate in film and television performances. This incident quickly became a hot search, with the two terms ## ranking among the top 15 hot searches. Due to the broadcast of Jiang Wuzhen was gaining popularity, and many people clicked on them, so that the rankings of these two terms are still slowly climbing. Under these two entries, there are many netizens who had a good impression of Jiang Wu after watching Exploring the Journey. However, after learning that Jiang Wu had bullied his teammates in the group and forced them to quit the group and go solo, they quickly turned from fans to passers-by, and from passers-by to haters, and started to curse Jiang Wu in the comment section. Is sincerity not enough? I licked his face before, and now I think about it, it's really disgusting. Bully, die, bar. Xiao Coco, I was bullied in junior high school, and later I took a year off from school because of depression. I still can't forget it. It's really a lifelong shadow. The past is gone with the wind. It's horrible that a bully was cleared of all charges so easily. The entertainment industry is truly horrible. The only star I like, you can't judge a person by his appearance, he's so good looking, but he's so vicious, vomit. Har har harshichi, this kind of person should be banned immediately. Don't let him come out to make money. Neo, Zhuoran is so pitiful. I thought I had come out of the shadow, but I didn't expect him to snatch the role away from me. Jiang Wu, you are not a human being. Crying. Ling Miao, I can only say that there is a reason why some people are unpopular. It's all retribution. Jiang Wu, you deserve it. A single stone can cause 1,000 ripples. Jiang Wu seemed to have returned to the time when he was just reborn and was blackened by the entire internet. It was even worse than before. Almost everyone was cursing and insulting this name, as if all the previous praises had never happened. Zhang Xiaoyu was shocked and worried that Jiang Wu would be upset. However, Jiang Wu was very stable and even comforted Ji Ruoxuan in their desert island survivor group. Ji Ruoxuan frankly expressed that he believed in Jiang Wu and wanted to post a blog to support him, but his agent snatched his phone away, saying that posting a blog would not only fail to help him, but would also increase the heat of the matter. The only way now is to reduce the heat and ask Jiang Wu not to reply. Jiang Wu expressed his gratitude and then told him not to interfere in the matter. Guan Qi came up and asked if the bullying was true, and Jiang Wu replied, "It's not true." Jiang Wu was not talking nonsense, he really knew about his original body. When the original body first debuted, he did form a group called Hong, with a total of 5 people. The lead singer was called Zhuoran, and the original body was the captain. Later, Zhuoran went solo, and was forced to go solo because of bullying in the group by the original body, who was the captain. As a result, the fans of that group insulted the original body for more than a month, and even sent wreaths to the original body's home and photoshopped his death photo. At that time, the original body's mother died due to the shock she received after seeing the portrait. The original body voluntarily withdrew from the troupe after his mother's funeral, and because of continuous cyberbullying, he had to transform into an actor, but he really didn't have the acting skills, so he has been unknown until today. In the end, he was betrayed by Yu Guangyuan and died in the Golden Land Hotel. Later, after Jiang Wu took over the original body's mobile phone, he found more than a dozen long essays in the Weibo draft box. Only then did he learn that the so-called bullying was purely a play directed and acted by Zhuoran in order to go solo but was afraid of being scolded by fans. If we really want to talk about bullying, the one who is really bullied is Jiang Wu, a weak and easy to bully soft persimmon. Because of his high popularity, Zhuoran is jealous of him, so he bullies him in various ways in life, dirtying and damaging his performance clothes, which are small things, and even mocking his family and poverty in front of other teammates, doing everything he can to humiliate him. In order to treat his mother's illness, the original body had to endure it until his mother died and he quit the group. But even knowing all this, Jiang Wu had no way to prove the original body's innocence, because Jiang Wu had no evidence unless he found the other teammates from that year. Of course, Jiang Wu didn't expect those people to have a change of heart. He planned to use spells to record evidence just like he did to Yang Wenxiong before. However, after the original person left the group, he deleted the contact information of other people, and the group became so obscure that no one could find this person. Zhang Xiaoyu only contacted him after he left the group, and he also did not have the contact information of other team members. After thinking about it, Jiang Wu asked for information about those people in their Desert Island Survivors group. Ji Ruoxuan didn't know them, but said he could help him find out. Guan Qi and Bai Yang also said they would help him ask. Within 2 days, Ji Ruoxuan brought good news, saying that he had obtained the contact information of one of the members of Hong from a friend in the circle, and the other party quickly sent him a WeChat business card. Jiang Wu quickly added the person named Chen Feng'an, but the other party accepted his WeChat friend status a day later. The other party said frankly that he knew why he came and said that he could not help him because he was still in the circle, and Zhuoran was now a second-tier star. He did not want to offend Zhuoran, so he said sorry and deleted Jiang Wu. Jiang Wu could no longer add the other party as a friend. At this time, Hu Saiping also talked to him about the hot search events in recent days, and said that Qi Qinjiao, as a large-scale production with high investment, could not withstand such risks and might not be able to cooperate. After a moment's silence, Jiang Wu said, "Okay." Zhang Xiaoyu was listening nearby. He fell silent after hearing this. After a while, he consoled her, "It's okay. If it doesn't work out, we won't go to film anymore. Let's focus on variety shows. Expiration is still waiting for you." Jiang Wu didn't say anything. He knew that after this incident, Tan NLV would probably not dare to invite him again. If it doesn't work out, let's become a print model. With your face, height, and temperament, Jiang Ji, you can be the best model in the country if you change your career. Real. Real. Zhang Xiaoyu was trying to comfort him, but Jiang Wu took it seriously. After all, he had no obsession with acting and just wanted to make money. When he heard that being a print model could also make money, he did not hesitate to research what a print model was. Seeing how serious he was, Zhang Xiaoyu thought it was feasible and his anxiety was instantly gone. So the two of them started to study how to become print models. On the other side, Han Zhang had just been discharged from the hospital when he heard about this from his childhood friend who came to pick him up. He immediately frowned, bullying. Jiang Wu is such a soft and sticky kid, how could he bully others? Yao Ping spoke up at the right time. In fact, Mr. Jiang, who was bullied, was just being blamed by the other party. Afterwards, Yao Ping told his boss what he had found out. He watched his boss' expression become more and more serious, his eyes becoming colder and colder, and finally he sneered when he saw the curses and insults against Jiang Wu on the internet. Yao Ping. Clear. Chapter 25, Rehabilitation. For days after the final photos were released, Jiang Wu and Zhang Xiaoyu were already gearing up to start their modeling careers when the public opinion online suddenly changed. It all started when Hong's then member Chen Foman suddenly posted a long article online, describing in detail how Jiang Wu's bullying of Zhuo Ran 5 years ago was all a lie made up by Zhuo Ran in order to go solo, and that the actual victim of bullying was Jiang Wu. The article also listed the details of Zhuo Ran's bullying of Jiang Wu, as well as several chat records with Zhuo Ran from that year, which clearly explained how Zhuo Ran bullied Jiang Wu and even boasted about it complacently. At the end of the article, Chen Feng'an specifically mentioned that Jiang Wu approached him to testify 2 days ago, but he refused, and that he failed to stand up that year. He was willing to apologize for this and also apologize to the fans who trusted him back then. Not long after, the other 2 members who had already retired from the group also quickly posted statements, verifying that what Chen Feng'an said was true, and solemnly apologized to Jiang Wu and the fans. The name Jiang Wu once again became a hot topic. When netizens were about to go in and continue to curse, they found that the truth of the matter had undergone a drastic reversal. The real bully was not Jiang Wu, but Zhuo Ran. Zhuo Ran not only turned the tables, but also deliberately led to online violence, causing Jiang Wu's then seriously ill mother to die of anger. Jiang Wu therefore withdrew from the group and transformed into an actor, and was also hacked for 5 years. After the truth was revealed, everyone was stunned. Countless people went to Zhuo Ran's account to ask if this was true, but Zhuo Ran seemed to have disappeared and did not respond at all. At this time, the director of Qi Qinjiao, Hu Saiping, posted a message saying that Jiang Wu was indeed late on the day of the audition, but was accepted because Jiang Wu was suitable for the role and it was definitely not because of connections. At this time, everyone vaguely realized that they seemed to have wronged Jiang Wu. Soon, those who scolded him for 5 years and those who scolded him recently for bullying and stealing roles flocked to his Weibo homepage to ask and apologize. Some people also asked him why he didn't tell the truth, and it was no wonder that everyone wronged him, but soon someone hit back, saying that if Jiang Wu said it, would you believe it? Get out of here, the victim blaming theory. While the internet was making a big fuss about apologizing to Jiang Wu and Zhang Xiaoyu were already gearing up to start their print modeling career until Hu Saiping called to inform him of the time to join the crew. Jiang Wu asked in confusion, "What group did you join? Didn't you say you won TB filming?" Hu Saiping said, "There's a big fight going on online, but you don't know about it. What are you busy with?" Jiang Wu Hui said, "It's an interview for a print model. I'm planning to change my career." Hu Saiping was silent for a long time on the other end of the phone, and finally replied, "Go check it out yourself on the internet." So Jiang Wu went online to check. The hot searches about himself were still high, but they had been changed to terms such as #Jiang Wu victim #Zhuo Ran bully #Chen Feng'an posted #. Jiang Wu clicked on them and took a look. They were all scolding Zhuo Ran, and there were fans crying and shouting for Zhuo Ran to come out and clarify, as well as a lot of people who sympathized with him. He clicked on his homepage again, and it was all apologies. Kang Kang Sang Sang, well, I won't say anything more. From now on, as long as you don't cross the red line, it doesn't matter if your acting is just so-so. Come on. The letter is short but the feelings are long. I'm sorry, I wronged you. From now on I will be your fan and you are my only wallflower. Shark Chili, if this is true, Zhou Ran's behavior is illegal. I am a lawyer. If you need help, just let me know. I will help you for free. Har 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 Shichi, I'm sorry buddy, I take back what I said before, and that guy Zhou Ran is a jerk. Ling Miao Miao, I was bullied, I was cyberbullied, my mom died because of it, and now I am being wronged. I am sorry. I am an idiot, cry, cry, cry. Oh my god. Brother Jiang, you've been vindicated. We can come back again. Zhang Xiaoyu shouted excitedly while holding the phone, tears almost streaming down his face. Wow, God still favors us. Jiang Wu has experienced more than 200 years, so he naturally knows that people just follow the crowd, not because of good or evil. Therefore, he was not too sad when he was scolded before, and he was not too happy now that he has turned the tables. He was just puzzled why Chen Feng'an suddenly changed his mind again. It was impossible for him to have a change of heart, and most likely someone did something. Zhou Ran is also a second-tier star, with millions of fans. The person who can help you must be of some importance. Zhang Xiaoyu suddenly thought of something. Could it be that Mr. Han? Didn't you save him? Jiang Wu also thought of it and called Han Chong. Yao Ping answered the phone and said something before speaking into Han Chong's ears. What's the matter? Han Zhong's voice sounded a little absent-minded, and he was obviously busy with work. Do you use the internet? There was silence for a while, and Han replied, I am a busy man, not a savage. If you're asking about the post that your former group member made to clarify, yes, I did it, you're welcome. Oh, I'm hanging up then. Before he hung up, Han Zhong said, we're even now that you saved me. Jiang Wu paused, then don't help me anymore, just hack me back. Anyway, he has already planned to switch to print modeling. He turned on the speakerphone, and Zhang Xiaoyu heard it clearly. After a moment of hesitation, he asked, then take off your clothes and we can continue filming. Han Zhong on the other end of the phone keenly caught this and asked, what are you shooting? Take a photo shoot. Jiang Wu said on the phone while posing in front of a full-length mirror, I'm planning to switch to being a print model. I'm taking interview photos now, and they said I have to be topless. Han Zhong, who was on the other end of the phone, sat in his office with his eyes closed and his head in his hands, feeling a slight headache. Are you stupid? Which studio requires topless photos for an interview? You've been fooled. Jiang Wu and Zhang Xiaoyu were both stunned on the other end of the phone. After looking at each other, Zhang Xiaoyu said blankly, I don't know either. A friend introduced it to me. Forget it. This time I'll just treat it as you climbing up to the 16th floor to see me in the middle of the night. There won't be a next time. The call was hung up, and Zhang Xiaoyu silently turned his head to look at Jiang Wu. Why did you climb into his room in the middle of the night? This is not important. You should first ask your friend what's going on and whether he lied to us. Oh, okay. On the other side, in the president's office of Who Are You, Han Zhong was quietly looking at the information on the computer. Bullying, cyber violence, the death of his mother, betrayal by his agent, being forced to jump off a building, each one is enough to push a person into despair, but Jiang Wu experienced it all. Even when he was cyberbullied again, he was able to calmly accept it and change careers. Is it because he has completely lost hope? That's why she rescued him from the car accident scene regardless of the danger and climbed to the 16th floor without fear. Was it because she had already lost all hope? By the way, Mr. Han, Mr. Jiang was actually scheduled to go for an interview on the day of the car accident, and he left the hospital in a hurry to go for an audition. Yao Ping said. That was why she was late for the audition and was accused of being a big shot, which caused this series of disturbances. However, Jiang Wu never thought of asking Han Zhong for help and had already planned to change her career to become a print model. Han Zhong was silent for a long time, and suddenly said, ask his assistant's friend what the modeling studio is called. Yao Ping was stunned. What are you going to do? Report them for fraud and producing pornographic publications. Okay. Yao Ping thought about his 5-figure bonus this year, then turned around and went to collect information about the studio. Han Zhong behind him stared at Jiang Wu's photo on the computer for a while, then reopened the comments section on his phone. With a slit of his finger, he clicked on the homepage of an account. A high-definition makeup photo of Jiang Wu, played by Jiang Wu, suddenly popped up, filling the entire screen. Jiang Wu, dressed in a black brocade robe and with trailing silver hair, looked at him outside the camera with a cold and aloof look in his eyes. Han Zhang's breathing stagnated, and suddenly some fragments flashed through his mind, and then disappeared like the wind the next moment, leaving nothing. He frowned slightly, vaguely feeling that he had seen Jiang Wu like this somewhere before. Black hair should be right, he muttered. Chapter 26. Joining the group. After the bullying incident was clarified, news soon came that Zhuoran was sued by the brand he endorsed, and a crew that was preparing to shoot a drama announced the suspension of cooperation, and the comment section was full of happy comments. At this time, Jiang Wu had already packed his luggage and entered the large film and television city where the crew of Qi Qianjiao was located, and got the script for his role as male number 6. "Didn't you say I was going to play a vase?" Jiang Wu asked in confusion as he looked at the 20-odd pages of scenes in the script. "Director who said that you understood Kang Yu very well, and your eye acting was also good. You completed Kang Yu's complete experience from a teenager to a dark man on the basis of the original." Zhang Xiaoyu said with a sly delight. The previous male 6th role was purely because of the popularity of the character in the original work. Now this role is what the male 6th role deserves. This means that director who values you. Brother Jiang, you should perform well. You will have a bright future in the future. Jiang Wu looked at Kang Yu's teenage scenes in the script and thought that his assistant was too happy too early. Just as Jiang Wuxia had expected, Zhang Xiaoyu was indeed happy too early. 2 days later, in the noisy crew, the bearded director Hu Siping looked at the person in front of him expressionlessly. "Is your previous understanding of Kang Yu really what you thought?" "Yes." Jiang Wu has long black hair and wears a gold-studded jade crown on his head. He also wears gorgeous clothes with white and gold as the main colors. Compared with the cold temperament in the makeup photos, this outfit is full of youthful spirit. However, his expression is still calm and composed, as if he would not change his expression even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. This temperament is very suitable for Jiang Yu's later years, who has seen many vicissitudes of life. But what we are going to shoot now is Jiang Yu's teenage years. Although the young Jiang Yu was precocious, he was full of love for his country and people because he lived a wealthy life, had a noble status, and was loved by his parents and brothers. He was unaware of the impermanence and cruelty of fate. The eyes of such a person should be bright and full of novelty, not so calm. But Jiang Wu just couldn't act it out no matter how Hu Siping explained or guided him. Director Hu was very puzzled. He was obviously still a young man of 24 or 25 years old, and had graduated from college only a few years ago. He was full of passion and fighting spirit for life, so why did he have such a disillusioned mentality? Jiang Wu also tried his best. First of all, he had never acted in a play before. Secondly, he was 265 years old this year. It had been more than 200 years since he was 16 or 17 years old. He really couldn't get back the feeling of youth. Moreover, he was not like Jiang Yu when he was 16. He had no parents and was tricked back home by Yang Zhang. All he wanted was to ascend to become an immortal. How could he have any sense of youth? Through this bullying incident, Hu Siping also learned about Jiang Wu's life experience. He knew that Jiang Wu dropped out of high school and became an actress to earn medical expenses for his mother. His adolescence was not happy. He did not blame him too much. He just asked him to watch more films about young people to get a feel for it. If that doesn't work, he can start by filming the evil Kang Yu. Jiang Wu agreed. Not far away, Mu Xiaoying, who plays the second female lead, watched the scene with her arms folded, and said with a half smile, "It's good to be whitewashed." Even director Hu doesn't dare to be mean to him. When have we ever been treated like this by director Hu? Shenyang, who played the male lead, was taking a break while reading the script. He looked up at her when he heard this, then lowered his head and replied, "A normal person would be affected by this kind of thing." Director Hu was just a little harsh, not that unkind. Yes, he is getting a lot of sympathy online now. Believe it or not, if director Hu is a little harsh on him, people will immediately criticize director Hu to death online. Mu Xiaoying's eyes were filled with sarcasm. I don't know who is behind him to be able to afford so many trolls. What about the lines? Mu Xiaoying was interrupted by a gentle and pleasant voice behind her. A woman in a lilac ancient costume and a girl's bun walked over. She had a bright and generous oval face, slightly curved peach blossom eyes, and a youthful and lively temperament. Only her calm and composed temperament showed that she was over 30 years old. The person who came was Zhang Shui, one of the top female stars in the domestic entertainment industry who had just won the Best Actress award. Mu Xiaoyin's expression froze for a moment. Sister Zhang Shui. Sister Zhang. Xinyang also stood up and greeted her, then glanced at Mu Xiaoyin. We had just chatting. Zhang Shui handed each of them a cup of sour plum soup and said with a smile, have you memorized the movements? Just chatting. Aren't you afraid of being scolded by Director Hu if he hears you? Mu Xiaoyin's face froze slightly. Thank you, Sister Zhang Shui. I'll go get familiar with the position in a moment. Zhang Shui smiled at her and walked towards Jiang Wu in front of her, carrying 2 cups of sour plum soup. Being scolded. Jiang Wu was looking down for the youth campus drama that Zhang Xiaoyu had found when a gentle voice suddenly sounded above his head. He looked up to see Zhang Shui smiling and the sour plum soup in her hand. Thank you, Sister Zhang Shui. Zhang Xiaoyu quickly took the 2 bowls of sour plum soup and gave his small stool to her. Zhang Shui thanked him and sat next to Jiang Wu, her eyes falling on the campus drama on his phone. The campus drama doesn't have much reference to the young Kang Yu. Jiang Wu then looked at her, waiting for her opinion. Compared to your acting skills, I think you lack identification with the young Kang Yu. You cannot identify with his love for all living things. Because of his love, you develop extreme emotions after losing them. This is what we call blackening. Zhang Shui looked at him with a smile. In fact, you are not exactly the same as the dark Kang Yu. Under Kang Yu's seemingly cold appearance, she actually has a persistent and nostalgic memory for her old friends, homeland, while you really look like you have no desires or requests. Young man, you are only 25 years old, right? She was very accurate. Jiang Wu avoided her question and asked directly, then is there any way to achieve recognition? Different growing environments create different personalities and perceptions. If you can't agree with them, you can refer to the people you are familiar with and imagine what their reactions and expressions would be if they were the young Kang Yu. Jiang Wu thought about it. There weren't many people around him that he was familiar with, and it seemed that the only person who could put himself in the shoes of the young Tsanyue was Yang Zhang. They were all princes? But their personalities are completely different. Yang Zhang is so cunning that he would probably just sigh that he couldn't lead the Zhou dynasty if it fell. It's hard to imagine that he would turn evil because of this. Seeing that he had no clue, Zhang Shui said, if you really can't figure it out, you can talk to Director Hu and shoot the scenes after the blackening first, so as to avoid being scolded by Director Hu halfway through the shooting. Jiang Wu nodded, thank you. Zhang Shui smiled, turned and left. Zhang Xiaoyu came over with a cup of sour plum soup in his hand, and sighed at Zhang Shui's back. Just as the rumors say, she's a very nice person. Even at this level, she still takes the initiative to teach newcomers. Jiang Wu took a sip of sour plum soup, hummed perfunctorily, and thought about how to replace Yang Chong with the young Tsanyue. He was unconsciously flipping through the story of the young Tsanyue, and his eyes happened to fall on the scene where the young Tsanyue, after hearing that the surrounding enemy troops were invading, entered the palace with a sword in hand and asked for orders to repel the enemy. Suddenly, some long-lost memories emerged in his mind. He remembered that Yang Zhang had volunteered to go to the northern frontier.